a devoted mother with a bright future in show business.
She was very much a rising star.
She was loved by a lot of people.
Is viciously attacked in her own home.
She had put up a fight.
She struggled very hard to try to live.
I was beyond shocked that this could happen to such an amazing human. I mean, why?
Police single out several suspects.
The boyfriend began to wash his hands before police arrived on the scene.
A bitter divorce, custody battles, money, these are all motives for murder.
We appreciate you coming and talking to us, man, but we got some problems.
What's the truth? What happened?
Just when detectives think they have the killer in sight.
I need to start complaining while your cell phone and her cell phone take. I don't know. All right.
The investigation takes a jaw-dropping turn.
And it was a murder from a Hollywood movie.
It was definitely bizarre.
It was just unexpected.
Only a twisted person could pull something like this off.
Nashville, Tennessee is the vibrant heart and soul of country music. In complete contrast, just a few miles away, is the suburban calm of Hermitage.
Hermitage is about 20-30 minutes outside of town, and it was a quiet place.
It doesn't have the hustle and bustle of downtown Nashville. It's an upscale, nice area to live in that didn't really have that much crime.
That all changes one quiet Sunday afternoon.
I was working that afternoon when the call came in.
The victim's boyfriend found her deceased and called 911.
When I'd walked inside the residence, I found the victim dead inside the living room area. There was blood next to her, and it appeared she had several gunshot wounds.
When I looked at the victim's body, I noticed multiple bullet holes, multiple projectile strikes. I also noticed powder burns on one of her hands.
There was gunshot residue on her hands, which would indicate she attempted to grab the gun.
The curtains had been pulled down, and some chairs had been moved around, like a struggle had started. It appeared she had put up a fight with the suspect. We began looking for a murder weapon. We could not find one.
We realized that the assailant picked up shell casings and removed them from the scene to make it harder on investigators to determine what happened. We were lucky. We found one shell casing that rolled to the edge of the wall, and it was sort of hidden, so the suspect wasn't able to find that one. It had a green sheen, and I thought it was an old brass shell casing that was corroded. We turned it over for the test.
We knew upon locating that shell casing that we were now going to have a clue that we could follow up on.
We noticed there was money on the counter, and there was other valuables, jewelry, a ring, so it didn't appear that robbery was a motive.
Investigators follow a trail of evidence from outside the house.
The victim's vehicle was parked in the garage. The vehicle's door was open, and it appeared that items from her purse were strewn across the floor of the garage.
It appeared that she was targeted, followed to her residence, and the suspect took the most opportune time to gain entry once the garage was opened, and she pulled in.
Detectives want more information from the victim's boyfriend. He tells police his girlfriend is 39-year-old Veronica Boza. They had plans to go out that day.
He stated when he arrived at the residence, the back garage was up. He noticed the victim's vehicle was parked. The door was open.
Upon entering the residence, he found the victim deceased.
Obviously, he's a suspect for us. He was the one that found the victim, and the red flags are up for us as detectives.
But Brian's too overwhelmed to say much more.
We can't rule him out because we don't know the history and don't know what happened.
We knew we were going to have to conduct an interview. with the boyfriend later on.
Veronica was originally from Milan, Italy. Veronica was very religious. She was Catholic. I think her faith is what led her to be so sweet and kind and help others. She was just a beam of light, happy, happy, happy.
Veronica had a lot of energy. And of course, she was from Italy. So she had this accent, and everybody from here was like, wow, where are you from?
At 23, Veronica moved to the U.S. to pursue her dream of working in the entertainment industry as a TV producer.
When I first met Veronica, she was entry level in the production industry. She took to it really well.
Veronica was very much a rising star. You just wanted to work with her.
She would boss you around and you'd like it. She'd tell you what to do and you'd be like, okay,
But work wasn't the center of Veronica's life. Her loved ones were.
Veronica had a lot of friends. She was loved by a lot of people and respected.
In 1994, Veronica got married, and 7 years later, she welcomed a son.
I think Veronica was very happy. She wanted her family, her son, her husband. It was the whole thing. Veronica's son was the end all for her. Like, she would walk through fire for him.
After 15 years of marriage, Veronica and her husband Tim separated, but they were successfully co-parenting their 8-year-old son. Officers confirmed the boy was with his father during the time of the murder. As news of Veronica's death sinks in, her loved ones struggle with the loss.
I was beyond shocked that this could happen to such an amazing human. I mean, why? Why? That's really what I sit with. Why?
To hear this news was like a punch in the gut. I was stunned.
At the crime scene, investigators make a startling discovery. Veronica was a victim of a random mugging and robbery just months before her murder.
We noticed a letter from the state saying the subject that was arrested for robbing her was going to be released on parole.
The person was armed and took property from her, and ultimately the suspect was arrested in the robbery and Veronica prosecuted.
Was the attacker out of jail the day Veronica was murdered?
This was definitely an angle we had to look into and to see his whereabouts and if he had ever made any statements toward Veronica after he had been arrested.
This definitely was a motive that could be related to the homicide.
Coming up, an old friend with a troubling past draws suspicion.
We found out that he had a large number of physical assaults against women.
Then investigators uncover a web of deceit
This was significant because it showed that he was lying about where he was.
that leads to a killer hiding in plain sight.
We then noticed that his phone was in the general area of the crime scene.
She admitted that she stole her ex-husband's handgun.
It's like, what?
After finding TV producer and loving mother Veronica Boza gunned down in her living room, detectives are trying to establish if a criminal from her past has taken his revenge.
We definitely had to look into seeing if he was out to harm Veronica. We started to do a background investigation on him. He was a dangerous person.
But when investigators dig deeper, they are forced to reassess.
We were able to find records showing that he was in jail during the day of the murder.
With a key suspect eliminated, detectives now focus on reconstructing their victim's final hours.
We found out that Veronica attended St. Edward's Church, and that's where she dropped her son off with his father after church service that Sunday before she was murdered.
Her boyfriend. Brian had spoken with Veronica right after she had left church.
She also spoke to a coworker during her drive.
We were able to learn when her last call was made, and then from Brian's when the 911 call was made.
From this information, detectives pieced together a timeline. Veronica was alive at 12:08 and dead by 12:20.
So there was a 12-minute span that we were able to narrow down of when this murder took place.
Due to the very limited time frame that the homicide could have occurred, the suspect would have been definitely rushed for time to perpetrate the act.
With Brian arriving just moments after Veronica's death, police question how he could have missed spotting her assailant.
So we needed to speak with her boyfriend. We had to interview him and exclude him as a suspect, if possible, or keep him as a suspect.
Brian agrees to go down to the station for further questioning.
You could visibly see he was upset.
Detectives begin by asking about Brian and Veronica's relationship.
Brian was also a TV producer, and they worked on a show together, and then that's how they met.
They had just started dating 2 to 3 months earlier, and they were getting ready to go on a weekend trip.
I've never been loved the way that she loves me. Never felt so strongly about a relationship. We moved very quickly and hadn't fought our hearts on it.
Though Brian appears to be the grieving boyfriend, they still do not have evidence to eliminate him as a suspect.
Did you see her at all today?
No. So
When was the last time you saw her?
Sundays are usually when we reunite.
He stated that he talked to Veronica after she dropped off her son near the church, and they were talking about a short trip they were going to take. He left a friend's house, and he was heading to Veronica's house. Along the way, he stopped and purchased a cold drink at a market, and then spoke with Veronica on the phone, and then he pulled up to the residence.
Walked in, looked to the right, saw her on the ground. I screamed for her name, and then went over to her. I saw the state she was in. I believe she was still alive up until a few moments before I walked in the door.
When police ask how Brian knew Veronica was dead, his answer is troubling.
At first, the boyfriend didn't check the victim to see if she was breathing or if she was now deceased.
When Brian called 911, the 911 operator asked him, "Is she breathing?" Only then did Brian check for a pulse, and he didn't find a pulse.
And then he began to wash his hands before police arrived on the scene.
He didn't perform any type of medical assistance to Veronica. It would seem odd.
Did you hurt Veronica today? Did you have?
No. And she's the love of my life. We plan to spend the rest of our life together.
Brian insists he had nothing to do with Veronica's death. He's then very quick to offer up another suspect.
Had she had any disagreements with anybody that you know of?
Ted Rose.
As we were interviewing Brian, he brought up the soon-to-be ex-husband as a person that we might want to look at as being involved in the homicide.
Brian had stated that Veronica and Tim were going through a rough divorce.
He said the divorce was contentious between Tim and Veronica, and he knew there was issues relating to the custody of their son.
Brian tells the detectives that he and Veronica were worried that Tim was capable of terrible things.
I've been very cautious for the past 6 months. I've been keeping an eye out to see if there was anybody there. I always felt like maybe he was the kind of guy that was going to have somebody there, like surveillance or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That raised red flags and piqued our interest. A bitter divorce, custody battles, money, these are all motives for murder. We wanted to interview him. Obviously, Tim, he was a suspect to us at this time due to his relationship with Veronica.
Police investigating the homicide of TV producer Veronica Boza are interrogating her boyfriend, Brian Robinson.
I was freaking out. Just like, oh my God.
He points the finger at Veronica's soon-to-be ex-husband, Tim Boza.
We found out that the divorce was within a few weeks to a month of being finalized, and that the divorce was going to be favorable to Veronica.
Brian tells police Tim isn't happy about the settlement or the custody arrangement.
When Veronica refused to submit to him to just being a split, he then attempted to tarnish her as a mother.
With nothing to tie him to the murder, Brian is released. Officers are dispatched to check his alibi, while detectives look into Tim Boza.
We found out that he was a home remodeler and worked for himself, basically.
Investigators learn that Tim and Veronica's marriage became strained in the last year and a half.
We found that Tim had hit a rough patch in his work. Some of his houses weren't selling. He was starting to have money issues.
Her life was taking off and going a really good direction, and Mr. Boza's life was doing the exact opposite.
12 months before the murder, Veronica filed for divorce.
The reason they had started the divorce was the financial situation Tim had put the family in with this business.
His business is basically going down the tubes.
He fought with Veronica over money. There was sort of an issue between Veronica and Tim as far as custody, and Tim was worried Veronica was going to take their son out of the country.
Would Tim kill his wife to keep from losing his son?
We went to Tim's house to notify him of Veronica's death. He didn't seem very upset, didn't seem very shaken.
Tim did start to show emotion when he started talking about how to make notification to his son that his mother had passed. Tim told us his son went to his sister's house. Tim called his sister. He told her what happened to Veronica, and he again became upset at the thought of having to tell his son what happened to his mother.
Police asked Tim to come down to the station for an interview where they questioned him about his wife's personal life.
Tell me about this boyfriend of hers. You doing these shows, you've been putting in 14, 16, 20 hours a day. She started hanging out. She just started acting weird. And then I started paying attention more. She fessed up. I said, okay. Tried therapy for a little while. Didn't work. I moved out June 6th.
Tim stated that he was upset that they were going through a divorce and that it wasn't what he wanted.
Had Veronica's relationship with another man driven Tim to kill?
Has your relationship with your wife ever been volatile? No. Was there ever any problems in the divorce? Our thing was good. Do you have any insurance that you're going to claim from this accident happening? I don't know. I have no idea. If I'm the beneficiary, then sure.
The life insurance policy on Veronica was approximately $550,000.
Tim admitted that once they were divorced, Tim would be taken off the life insurance as a beneficiary. So he was 2 to 3 weeks out from being on the life insurance policy.
Detective Crumby cuts to the chase.
Did you have anything to do with your wife's murder? Oh, sure.
When asked if he had done it, Tim reacted calm, cool.
Part of my technique in interviewing people, I like to make accusations and statements to try to throw them off.
I'm sitting there calling you a murderer. I think you are. I don't know how to respond to that. I didn't do it.
He came back at me and was adamant that he didn't.
Tim says the last time he saw Veronica was in the church parking lot at the custody exchange.
He gave us the exact route that he followed after he picked up his son and the different stops that he made.
Tim had said that he had gone to a hardware store and a grocery store near his residence. He provided receipts.
We had other detectives follow up, actually go to the store, pull surveillance tapes.
When police get a hold of the security footage, they're stunned.
The receipts that Tim had given us match up the times on the surveillance video. And we had already had a time frame of when the homicide happened, so we were able to narrow it down to where he was. Tim was not there at the residence when it happened.
Tim is cleared as a suspect, and officers have also looked into the boyfriend Brian's alibi.
Brian went to a local store for a cold drink before he came to Veronica's house. Surveillance tapes showed him at the store at the time he stated, so we knew where he was during the time we suspect the homicide happened.
Investigators are back at square one.
We don't have a known suspect. I started getting frustrated.
You know, anytime you have a homicide of this magnitude, community members, neighbors, friends are obviously worried.
Everybody was just really shocked and tried to comfort each other and try to understand what happened.
Why the hell did this happen? How did this happen? Who did it? I wanted justice for her. You know, I mean, no matter who did it, no matter what it was, I wanted answers.
Officers canvass Veronica's neighbors, asking if they saw or heard anything unusual around the time of the murder.
A neighbor stated they saw a light-colored white or silver SUV or van in the alley right before the homicide. They didn't know if it was involved or not. They stated that it was gone before the police arrived.
Did the driver have something to do with Veronica's murder? Is this the lead police have been hoping for?
We started to have some pieces to the puzzle, but at this point, we didn't have the puzzle and we didn't even have the border.
2 days after Veronica Boza's murder, police still don't have a solid suspect. Their only lead is a light-colored SUV that was seen in the alley by Veronica's house right before she was attacked.
We tried to narrow down whose vehicle that possibly could have been. We were told that maybe a handyman that comes around, so we followed up and determined that he had a dark truck.
With few leads, investigators looked to Veronica's autopsy results for insight.
The medical examiner said that she was shot 4 times. She had a defensive wound to her arm. The last time was a shot to her head to make sure that she was dead, so she was basically executed.
Well, is this a stalker? Is this a hitman? What is it? And so everybody was on alert.
While the murder weapon wasn't found at the scene, police do get one piece of good news.
Technicians ran ballistic tests on the shell casings, and that gave us a type of gun we were looking for. It was fired from a high point 9mm.
Investigators decide to track Veronica's phone for further clues.
When we have a homicide, we like to collect electronic evidence. We knew from family and friends that she had an iPhone, so we had our tech investigator follow up on cell phone records and GPS records.
We were able to see that she'd gone to church and then came back home, and then now that phone is missing.
Police believe Veronica's attacker took her phone.
The location of the cell phone was being recorded, leaving the scene of the homicide, traveling down the roads, down the interstate.
Was the signal leading police straight to Veronica's killer?
That was one key piece that really opened our eyes. It was almost as if Veronica was helping us in our investigation.
But then the signal goes dead.
So we thought that the phone had been destroyed, powered off, or just the battery died. We requested records for her current boyfriend, Brian. We determined that he was telling us the truth about where he had been, what he had been doing.
We looked at the cell phone records and the GPS locations for Tim in relation to the homicide. His cell phone was hitting on towers along the path that he stated he took.
But something else about Tim's phone records jumps out to detectives.
We noticed multiple calls to one number before and after the custody exchange.
Police learn the number belongs to Corey Cotham.
Corey Cotham was a friend of Tim's. They worked together, they hung out together, and they were very close. He was friends with Veronica, and at some point actually stayed with Tim and Veronica.
Were the calls just routine conversations between two friends, or something more sinister?
Tim had told us that he spoke with his friend Corey, but he just made it seem like it was just a matter of the fact, not a long conversation. But this was definitely a red flag to us.
But when police look closer at Corey, they find Tim and Veronica's good friend has a dark and troubling past.
We found out that he had a large number of assaults, physical assaults against women.
Corey Cotham preyed on women. He was always playing women and trying to get money. He had such a high opinion of himself. He called himself Big Man.
It's a major revelation. Was it possible Corey had something to do with Veronica's death?
Maybe there was a personal reason between him and Veronica that we didn't know about that could have been related to the homicide. We were just unsure at this point.
We then got a warrant issued for Corey's cell phone data to show what Corey had been up to that day.
The results raise immediate suspicions.
Corey's phone and Veronica's phone were both hitting in the same general area as each other. We noticed that the day of the homicide, he was in the general area of St. Edward Catholic Church, which is where Veronica went to Mass at that morning. We then noticed that his phone was in the general area of the crime scene later that morning.
When detectives track his phone's movement after the killing, they make a stunning discovery.
We noticed that Corey Cotham's device was in the area of the crime scene, then heads back out towards Interstate 40.
The route is suspiciously similar to the path Veronica's cell phone took.
We would conclude that the two devices are in close proximity to each other and that there's a good probability that the phone was taken by the suspect at that point.
Upon learning that information, we now started looking at Corey Cotham as a suspect in the murder of Veronica Boza.
Investigators come up with a plan to lure Corey into talking.
I was very nonchalant with him. Tried to play it as we needed his help to clear his buddy Tim.
Corey agrees to meet with detectives.
He didn't think our radar was up in regards to him.
Corey confirms he spoke with Tim the morning of the murder.
It was a couple of times. I know I called, but I know I called on the way back into Nashville.
He stated he was coming back from Kentucky from seeing one of his girls, and that at the time he spoke with Tim, he was passing the Portland area on the interstate.
Where were you when you talked to him at 12:20? I was already back in town. I went over one of my girls' house and just chilled with her,
He went to a girlfriend's house in Nashville, which was on the other side of town from where the homicide occurred. So he put himself way away from the homicide location.
This was significant because it showed that he was lying about where he was.
Then, investigators decide to set a trap.
One thing we had to do was put Corey's phone on his person and in his hand 100% of the time.
Is that the best way to get a hold of you, by your phone? Yeah. You always have it on you? Always. Okay. You're like me, man, 24/7. Hey, I got the car charger, the whole deal.
We were able to get Corey to admit that he always had his cell phone with him and that nobody else had the phone that day.
And that's almost as good as putting a weapon in Corey's hand.
All right, man. We appreciate you coming and talking to us, man, but we got some problems. What's wrong? We've already pulled cell phone records, all right? And what you told us is totally not what your cell phone records show.
He got fired up. He was pretty upset, pretty mad.
After Veronica Boza is found shot to death, police have caught her old friend Corey Cotham in a lie.
What if you need to start explaining why your cell phone and her cell phone take? I don't know. All right? I'm telling you, man, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I ain't got anything to do with that. I knew Veronica before I knew Tim. I ain't got nothing to do with that. That's what's crazy, dude. I came because I'm trying to bail my boy out from getting some mess.
He started to get angry, started getting frustrated.
You want a lawyer before you talk to us, or you want to talk to us? There's nothing I can tell y'all. I haven't done anything.
At that point, we needed his vehicle and his cell phone in relation to the investigation, and we went and obtained a search warrant for them.
When police seize Corey's vehicle, they notice striking details.
Corey had a champagne-colored Cadillac Escalade. A neighbor saw a light-colored vehicle in the alley that day of the homicide. We found a collapsible lunchbox. We found gloves and clothing, shoes, and other items that we didn't really know how they related to the scene.
If Corey is Veronica's killer, what's his motive?
Corey is definitely a dangerous person. You don't know what he's capable of.
He was a sociopath.
But with no hard evidence against him, police have to let Corey go.
Releasing him at that point was frustrating. Obviously, Corey was a top suspect at the time, but we needed to do further investigation. And
one of the things that we did with Corey's records is we looked at everybody he talked to the day of the homicide.
one of the numbers that stuck out was around 12:28 in the afternoon. So I called the number, and the person on the other end of the phone stated he used to live across from Corey.
He had stated that he had cleaned a gun for Corey a couple weeks prior.
It was a high point 9mm. Corey came to him and pulled it out of a red collapsible lunch pail. And we found a red collapsible lunch pail in the trunk of Corey's Escalade. So it started to come together at that point.
Investigators need to find the gun and connect it to Corey, but they still have a long way to go. With phone records placing him near Veronica's house at the time of her murder, police confront Corey's only alibi, his girlfriend, Jenny.
During that interview, Jenny had told us that Corey had been with her that day from 12 to 12:30 because she fixes him lunch at that time.
It's the same time Veronica was murdered. I showed her Corey's phone records and told her we knew she was lying.
Detective Crummy and myself fully explained to Jenny that lying during a murder investigation, she could go to jail.
At that point, she backed off. She actually walked away from us and she called her attorney. I didn't know her motive for lying. I didn't know if she was scared of Corey. I didn't know if she was involved in the homicide and complicit. So we had a lot of other investigation to do and a lot more digging.
Detectives still need a witness to place Corey at the scene of the murder.
We showed multiple neighbors an array of photographs of different vehicles, and one was an Escalade. They couldn't make a positive identification on what type of vehicle it was, so ultimately we couldn't use it.
It's another roadblock for police and more frustration for Veronica's family and friends.
It makes you mad that somebody would do something like that to somebody like her.
It felt twisted. It was like we couldn't get answers. We were getting all these rumors. What's the truth? What is the truth? What happened?
Investigators need a break, and they finally get one.
Jenny, Corey's girlfriend, was starting to contact the police department multiple times and wanting to speak with detectives in relation to the case.
So when we interviewed Jenny the second time, she decided to tell us what really happened.
Not sure what time he was at my house. He was at my house Sunday. I can't be certain of the time.
Now she couldn't provide an alibi for Corey. She did state she saw him that morning, but she was half asleep. When she woke up later in the afternoon, Corey was now at her house after the time of when the murder happened.
You didn't go with him? You didn't take him?
No. I did not leave my house.
Jenny does make one startling admission that's very valuable to police.
She admitted that she stole her ex-husband's handgun and put it inside a red collapsible lunchbox and hid it in her vehicle.
Whenever I thought I could get arrested for it, I was going to try to sneak it back. Whenever I went to go sneak the gun back, it was missing. And the only person that knew was Corey.
It's a major discovery. Not only is Corey's alibi shattered, police now have a lead on the possible murder weapon.
We showed Jenny a picture of the red collapsible lunchbox we found in Corey's vehicle, and she identified that as being the one that she put her handgun in after she stole it from her ex-husband. She agreed at that point to work with us to prove that she wasn't involved in the homicide.
When detectives get the results from the analysis on Corey's phone, they sense they're on the right track.
They were able to recover a picture of a high point 9mm handgun.
It's the same type of gun that was used to kill Veronica.
The one shell casing we were able to locate on the scene had a greenish tint to it. After looking at Corey's phone, the ammunition in the picture also had a greenish tint to it.
This was possibly the gun that was used in the homicide. We didn't know if Jenny gave it to Corey. Corey stole it, we didn't know. So we dug through the police reports relating to her and her ex-husband, and it just says that a handgun was stolen.
When police contact Jenny's ex, he confirms that the gun in the photo is his.
He stated it was the High Point 9mm that was stolen.
Was this the actual gun used in Veronica's murder?
Our main motive was to find ballistics that affirmatively tie the handgun that was stolen as the handgun used in the homicide to kill Veronica.
Jenny's ex also tells police he used to shoot his gun on his property.
We searched everywhere trying to find evidence, any shell casings that could have matched. As we were about to wrap up our search, our ID tech actually found one shell casing and he dug a couple more. I knew it could be a very critical turning point in the investigation if it did match.
3 hours later, detectives received the ballistics report.
It's a match. Definitely was fired from the same handgun. It was the best thing we could have done and could have to tie the handgun to the scene without actually having the handgun.
But where is the gun that was used to kill Veronica? Before investigators can lay any charges against Corey, they get an urgent call from Jenny.
She told the police Corey had planned a trip to Barbados. He was going to leave the country.
Police now believe Corey Cotham murdered Veronica Boza, but Corey's girlfriend Jenny has told detectives he's about to flee the country. They need to act fast before he slips through their fingers.
We contacted Jenny again and asked her to come in and do a controlled phone call.
I asked Jenny to wear a wire to see if Corey would talk about what had happened, and also to try to get him to come back to Tennessee where we could arrest him.
Jenny is nervous, but agrees to help police.
Hey, what's wrong? Hey, they're coming to arrest me, Corey. What do I do?
She stated that the police were coming after her, that we had a warrant for her.
They got some sort of bullet, and it matches the same thing, exact match as one that they found at the crime scene.
She stated that the detectives were able to tie the handgun that she had from her ex-husband to him, or to the homicide. She said, Corey, they know.
They're saying it's a 9mm. They can use 9mm bullets anywhere. That don't matter. That's stupid.
That was an aha moment because we never released to him or anybody else the caliber of weapon that was used.
So we were very confident in all the evidence from Cotham, which was just overwhelming that he was the killer.
But it's what Corey says next that blows investigators away.
Get in touch with him. Let them know what's going on.
Mr. Cotham did make a statement, you need to check with Tim and get with Tim.
For him to tell Jenny to call Tim, that let us know right then and there that Tim was involved in the homicide.
It's a surprising twist. Had Tim been involved in Veronica's death after all?
Surveillance was started on Tim that afternoon.
Mr. Boza had a big motive. He had custody issues in his marriage. He had money problems.
Tim had financial gains from the death of Veronica Boza.
$550,000 in insurance, which would have turned his life around.
While Tim had motive to kill Veronica, he didn't pull the trigger. But would he have recruited the couple's mutual friend to do his dirty work? Police take Corey into custody. Then they close in on Tim.
Officers were able to follow Tim around, and then once the warrants were obtained, Tim was arrested during a traffic stop.
Corey refuses to speak to police, but Tim is eager to talk. He tells detectives a tale so twisted, they can hardly believe it.
And I'm sorry, I lied to everybody here. There was a movie years ago. They both had terrible wives, mothers, or whatever, and they said, what did this crisscross do? And just in jest, I said, okay, hey, we should do the same thing.
It was a very crazy plan.
This homicide didn't make sense to me and how it played out. It was just unexpected.
It was definitely bizarre when he told us what the plan was.
Corey was supposed to murder Veronica, and Tim was supposed to murder one of Corey's girlfriend's ex-husband. The two of them got this idea from a Hollywood movie with the same type of plot.
The crisscross killing theory was strange. Of course, Boza claimed he thought they were joking, but I could see that Mr. Cotham really talking it up and acting like Mr. Big Man or Mr. Hitman that they could pull this off.
The day
He's murdered. He called you and says it's done.
Yes, sir, he did.
What did he say?
He just said that he went in the house and she tried to run and that he shot her.
When I talked to him, it said that Corey said it's done, which was obviously dynamite evidence for us.
Police learned Corey also had something more to gain from Veronica's death.
Tim promised to pay Corey $35,000 of the life insurance policy.
His wife was leaving him, and he just had anger and jealousy issues of the victim. He was a desperate man, and he had the strongest motive of anybody.
Corey Cotham and Tim Boza are tried separately for their roles in Veronica's murder. In court, prosecutors put forward a theory of how the crime unfolded.
The morning of the homicide, Corey went down to St. Edward Catholic Church.
The only person that could have told Corey Cotham where she was going to be that day was Mr. Boza.
While Tim runs errands to build his alibi, Corey follows Veronica home.
Veronica opens her garage door. She pulls in to park. Corey pulled right in behind her, got out of his vehicle. He was wearing a mask and gloves, and Veronica was in her vehicle and saw this. She runs into the house. Corey's chasing after her. I believe they fight in the kitchen area and in the living room area.
She fought for her life. She obviously struggled very hard to try to live.
Corey and Tim are both found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder.
Mr. Cotham got life without parole. Mr. Boza got a life sentence, which means he'll have to serve 51 years before he's eligible for parole.
Veronica was definitely an unexpected target. I can't fathom Tim would ever do something like this. He hired the hitman. He's just evil. Only a twisted person could pull something like this off. He has no soul.
The truth behind what happened, it just makes you feel sick to your stomach.
In losing Veronica, we lost one of the most amazing human beings that ever walked this earth. Miss her all the time. It's painful.
The real tragedy in this case is all the families that were destroyed. Veronica's son won't have a mother and father.
I remember her as someone who you enjoyed working with and looked forward to being around.
I think Veronica would want to be remembered as a loving soul. That simple. She's just such a bright light. And she would want that for everybody.
Tonight on an all-new 2020.
The saga of Mike and Dahlia DiPolito was so outrageous, so unbelievable.
Their relationship was like a powder keg. Those two had such sexual attraction.
The reality show Cops is there waiting to capture every second.
This is Sergeant Frank Ramsey, Boynton Beach Police Department. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, he's been killed. He's been killed.
Can you imagine you come home from a simple morning at the gym and you find out that your husband's been murdered?
I can't let you in, man.
Listen, is there anybody that you know that you think would want to kill your husband?
Did you ever love Mike DiPolito?
Yes. I married him because I loved him.
Did you want your husband dead?
No, absolutely not. I'm in intensive therapy now, just trying to cope with everything that's happened because it's hard.
How do you explain then what we saw and what we heard on those videotapes?
Sure you want to kill him, dude?
And that's when Dahlia DiPolito says the phrase that goes around the world.
I'm positive, like 5,000% Charlotte.
Okay.
With evidence like that, what seems like evidence, how did she end up going to trial not once, not twice,
Dahlia DiPolito walking out of 3 women,
but 3 times? It is reality TV on steroids. It's a cloudy morning in sleepy Boynton Beach, Florida. It's just before 6 a.m. It's already a humid 80 degrees, and most people are still asleep. but not 26-year-old newlywed Dahlia DiPolito.
On August 5th, 2009, Dahlia and Mike DiPolito had just passed their 6-month wedding anniversary. He's in bed in the morning, and Dahlia gets up and goes to the gym at 6 a.m.
The LA Fitness in Boynton Beach.
He's groggy, it's early morning, he's still in bed.
She tells Mike on the way out, I'm going to the gym, maybe I'll bring you Starbucks on the way home.
In the middle of her workout, Dahlia receives a phone call from the Boynton Beach police.
Sorry, I just missed your call. Please leave a brief message, and I will return your call as soon as I can.
This is Sergeant Frank Ramsey, Boynton Beach Police Department Detective Division. I need you to call me as soon as you can, ma'am.
A few seconds after missing the call, she calls the number, and it's the Boynton Beach Police asking her to come home.
Okay, can you come right back to your residence, please?
Yeah, I'm leaving right now. Is it okay?
Ma'am, I'll tell you everything you need to know when you get here.
There were cameras everywhere, including from the hit TV show Cops.
She goes rushing up, looking very confused. You see her in her black leggings, her tight spaghetti strap tank top.
Listen, we had a report of a disturbance at your house, and there were shots fired.
Once she arrived, that's when she was told that her husband was killed.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, he's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am.
And that's when she falls into his arms, wailing. She is screaming. She's saying, no, 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 no.
No. Try to calm down. No. Listen, right now what we need to get you.
From the perspective of neighbors, they see this nice young couple, and next thing they know, something horrible has happened there. And they're all wondering, who would want to kill Mike DiPolito? Is it random? Is it somebody that could have come into my house?
My name is Jillian Jalali, and I have a podcast called Court Junkie. This case has it all as far as true crime is concerned.
Mike and Dahlia seemed to be a perfect match. It was truly a fairy tale.
Dahlia's father was Egyptian and her mother was Peruvian.
She was born Dahlia Muhammad.
Dahlia comes from a religious family, very close-knit family.
And when she was 13 years old, her family moved to Boynton Beach, Florida, where she essentially grew up.
Boynton Beach is located in Palm Beach County. Well, that's a pretty glitzy county in Florida.
When people think of Palm Beach County, they often think of Mar-a-Lago, where President Trump lives. He has that resort there. Boynton Beach, 15 miles away, is a typical American suburb.
It's sort of a middle class, more of a blue-collar community.
Dahlia lived in a gated community. She lived there with her mother. Some describe her as beautiful. She's certainly attractive, especially when she's got her hair and makeup done.
I first met Dahlia DiPolito back in 2015. Has your story been told yet, truthfully?
No, it hasn't.
How would you describe your personality?
Really bubbly, very, very friendly, really social.
What types of values were you raised with? What was important in your family?
We were constantly doing family activities, family vacations, and a lot of family dinners, big Sunday dinners.
What were your hopes for her?
To grow up, be married, be happy, and have kids.
Dahlia grows up and she becomes supposedly a real estate agent.
But the problem is that actually takes a lot of really hard work. And she's much more into the quick buck.
I think she was a woman who early on decided there were certain things in life she wanted, and she was going to use her sexuality to get them.
Money. She wants money.
Some people might call Dahlia a gold digger, and if she could see maybe a fast buck in someone, she was going to go for it.
Enter Mike DiPolito. He says that when he met Dahlia, she was working as a paid escort.
He meets her on a website called eros.com. He was ordering an escort to keep him company over the weekend. He ordered her like a pizza.
Mike DiPolito is an interesting guy. Just like Dahlia, he wants a lavish lifestyle. He yearns for the finer things in life.
Michael DiPolito was a muscular guy. He worked out, and he liked the high life, too.
What was your initial impression of Mike DiPolito?
Charming.
What drew you to him?
His personality. He was really, really engaging, and it felt a really strong connection.
So, Mike DiPolito is a very likable guy. He's not afraid to be vulnerable.
And he just seemed sort of like a guy you'd see at the gym, maybe not too bright, but working hard and trying to have a fun life.
Mike describes his first meeting with Dahlia, that she was sweet, almost naive.
Give me some insight into what it was like when you first met.
We got into outdoor activities and stuff, and we got bikes, and we started biking together.
What do you think Michael saw in you?
My personality, who I was, my sense of humor. We talked about all kinds of things. We watched the news together. We were big movie people. We both love Starbucks, coffee drinkers.
Mike had a very difficult upbringing, and I think he really yearned to feel loved and to feel safe and taken care of. He had this void that needed to be filled, and she made him feel like he had never felt before. But the problem that Mike had was that he was married at the time.
They start an affair, a hot and heavy and steamy affair.
He said the sex was unbelievable.
Did you have any scruples about getting involved with a man who was still married?
No, I was told that he was going through the divorce proceedings, and he had actually sent me papers showing that he was going through the divorce process.
Not only did Mike DiPolito have a wife, he also had a checkered past.
Well, long before he met Dahlia, he'd gone to prison for running a boiler room stock operation.
He was conning old people over the phone.
They would call people up and they would sell them these penny stocks, convince them that these were going to become stocks that were going to be worth a lot of money, but in actually were just scams.
Basically like the movie The Boiler Room.
Listen, I'm presenting you with an investment opportunity that I think you're going to find very interesting.
Where he's cold calling people and trying to get them to invest in foreign currency.
He was ripping people off.
Along the way, he was definitely making enemies.
Mike pled guilty to organized scheme to defraud, unlicensed telemarketing, and grand theft. And he served a total of 2 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 28 years probation.
They're in love, they are determined to leave their past behind. So this ex-con and his former escort are in this whirlwind romance, and 6 months later, they're married.
The way that it happened, it was just so impulsive, and it felt right.
You went down to the county courthouse?
The courthouse the same day, applied for the license. It took a couple of days to, for it to legally be official and everything.
This was a shock to Dahlia's mother, Rhonda Muhammad.
And she showed me her ring. I was like, wow, you got engaged? And she says, no, we got married.
And you thought what?
I wasn't happy at all, but it was time.
If you look at the pictures of them, she has this beautiful smile. He's grinning. They're embracing each other. It looks like true love.
From an outsider looking in, they're the happiest couple.
And that brings us back to that hot August morning in 2009. Mike DiPolito is dead. He has apparently been murdered in his house. And the big question is, why? Who would want to do this?
Police can't help but wonder if this grieving widow is actually keeping a deadly secret.
Are you sure that you don't know anybody who want to kill your husband?
This is Sergeant Frank Ramsey. Ma'am, I need to talk to you. It's very urgent when you come home. It involves your husband. There's been an incident.
Can you imagine you've got your whole life ahead of you, and you're in love, and you're planning everything, and then you come home from a simple morning at the gym, and you find out that your husband's been murdered?
I don't wish this on anybody. It's just beyond, words. It's so hard to be able to just fully express.
Is your husband, Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed. He's been killed, ma'am.
The condo is surrounded by police cars. The street was mobbed with detectives, crime scene technicians.
I can't let you in, ma'am. We have to do our job. You have to find his killer, okay?
She says, I want to see my husband. And the police say, no, you can't.
If you want to help your husband, you need to go to the station with these gentlemen and tell us everything you know about who he knows, who he's connected to.
They put her into the police car, and now she's being whisked away to the police station. So they take her to the interrogation room. She's sitting in there.
And I'll explain to you what we're going to do. Okay?
They turn the camera on once Dahlia steps into the room to watch her demeanor and to see how she was behaving.
I don't want to be videotaped.
Well, you're being videotaped. That's all part of it.
And still expressing grief and sorrow and disbelief.
No. You don't want to see him.
The police are treating her like a grieving widow. They're doing their investigation into who would want to kill her husband.
Listen, is there anybody that you know that you think would want to kill your husband?
My husband's on probation.
For what?
He's for stock fraud.
Stock fraud?
And in fact, she tries to steer the investigation to the victims that Mike had previously scammed money from.
Did you spend any time in prison? How much?
2 years in prison and 5 years on probation, going on to 6 years.
Oh my God. And what was that for?
It was for taking money. It was like, he explained it like boiler room kind of, where they would take money from people.
She tells them that he had been in prison before for fraud, that he was on probation, and that he still owed restitution, almost $200,000 to several victims.
He's been trying to get off probation, and it's just been nothing but problems the whole time that he's been trying to get off. People weren't happy that he was getting off probation because it's a lot of money he's got to pay back.
She tells them that Mike was just about to get off on probation early, and the people that he had scammed money from were very angry and upset about this.
Well, when you say people, who are you talking about? People that were involved with him before, or?
A little bit of everything. He's constantly running into a lot of the guys that he was on probation with. It was a lot of money. It was $191,000 that he had to pay back.
He's got all these sketchy characters from his past. Yeah, they're the ones.
I guess somehow when he went away, some guys didn't go away. They left the country.
You mean went away, he went to prison?
Right.
Okay.
They left the country. And so somehow he was dealing with some of those guys because they thought that he owed them, and I don't know.
She gave very vague details about, maybe people that could have been angry with him. She didn't provide law enforcement with much information at all.
Well, I'm asking, if you know any names, then we can run these guys down and see what they know.
I don't know if the one guy that I'm telling you about, Pasquale, if he also went away or if he didn't.
She starts to kind of give names and tell them that there are possibilities of people that maybe had wanted to see Mike dead.
Is it Pasquale or Pasquale?
Pasquale.
Then Dahlia starts spilling some of Mike's other secrets, like his substance abuse issues.
He's recovering alcoholic.
Dahlia tells detectives that her husband Mike struggled with demons, alcohol, and drugs.
And so with him, it's very important to be like on a schedule and, you know what I mean, like have a system and very organized with everything.
Get up every day, go to the gym, go to Starbucks. He would go to AA meetings. He felt was so important to keep regimented. He did that to make sure that he stayed sober.
And in fact, Mike would have otherwise been at the gym with Dahlia, except he was recovering from liposuction surgery.
We were supposed to go to the gym.
Oh, both of you were supposed to go?
He had like 2 love handles removed from here.
And so he was laid up. He couldn't exercise. He couldn't go to the gym.
We haven't gone since his surgery, but every morning, 5 a.m., we're both at the gym.
You're lucky.
What?
You're lucky you went to the gym. I don't know if you know, he was shot. He was shot twice. And I want you to know all this.
Do you know this?
Not exactly. I mean, they told me he was shot.
He was found in the bedroom. He was shot twice in the head.
She brought up every negative detail of his life in those moments after she learned that he had been killed.
Well, you know, he's very, he used to be a drug addict. And
what was his drug of choice?
Crack.
Crack? I'm going to be back. What I want to do is call right now. I'm going to go out and get in touch with the officers at the scene. I want to see if the house was burglarized.
Okay.
All right, just hang on for a second.
Thank you.
So when the police exit and Dahlia was still being videotaped, as they leave the room, she starts crying.
A few moments later, the detective comes back in and he has one more question.
There's no problems between you guys, no financial problems, with your family, you and him.
No, there's nothing.
In that police interview, Dahlia paints a rather rosy picture of their relationship. No problems, no drama.
But what everyone would soon learn is there actually was trouble in paradise.
Everything seems great. At least that's what Michael thought.
What he didn't know is that Dahlia DiPolito had another man in her life.
As Dahlia DiPolito sits in that interrogation room, there is still a lot that investigators don't know about her.
She uses men to give her money or to get into their lives so then she could then extract their money from them.
She knew how to use her sex appeal, and she had a lot of it, to get her way. And that's what she did very successfully with men, including Mike DiPolito.
She wanted Mike's house. She wanted all of his money.
She decided, hey, I got to figure out a way to get his stuff. She had several men wrapped around her fingers.
One of those men was a Florida businessman, Mohammed Shihada.
He was a 32-year-old Jordanian national. He was a quasi-actor.
In fact, if you go to the site for Mohammed's talent agency, his online portfolio is still there.
He really enjoyed playing poker and gambling in Las Vegas.
How did you know Mohammed?
I met him a long time ago. He had a convenience store business, and I had actually walked into his store. And that's where we struck up conversation, and we both had Middle Eastern background, and so we just ended up developing a friendship.
And you stayed in touch for how many years?
Throughout the course of maybe like 15 years.
So you considered him a close personal friend?
Considered him a friend. I wouldn't say close.
They began a flirtation, which was very heavily sexually charged. When she needed something, they would rekindle that old flame, so to speak. If she needed to vent about a guy she was dating or a relationship that she was in, she would talk to him. So in July of 2009, after Dahlia was married to Mike, she reached out to Mohammed once again, as she had done over time. She starts a narrative with him about Michael DiPolito.
Dahlia told Mohammed that she was physically abused, that he was controlling, and she just needed out of the marriage.
Were there any stresses on the marriage?
We got into little arguments and things, but it wasn't anything major.
But Dahlia tells Mohammed that her husband is abusive, emotionally abusive, so much so that a regular divorce isn't going to cut it. So she wants Mike out of her life for good and turns to Mohammed for help.
She wants for a more permanent solution to her problems.
Dahlia confides in Mohammed that she wants Mike DiPolito killed. They meet at a gas station in Boynton Beach. Dahlia tells Mohammed that she's desperate, that she needs to have Mike killed.
It's a common thread throughout these types of cases. Beautiful women, and they also often involve allegations of abuse.
Mohammed is really nervous that if Mike DiPolito is killed, that law enforcement would come back to him, and he didn't want that to happen, and he didn't want Mike to be killed.
Mohammed Shihada is actually the person that called police and said that Dalia Dippolito was planning to murder her husband.
We had a gentleman come into the police department advising they had some information in reference to a young lady that wanted her husband killed.
They captured this first conversation that they had with Mohammed on a tape recorder.
Okay, tell us what happened.
She asked if I knew someone who can kill her husband for her. I said, basically, no, I don't. She tells me, though, he's the nicest, sweetest nerd, but you can't stand him.
So at first we weren't sure what we had.
Do you know where she lives?
No.
At the time, we didn't know what to believe.
Her last name, I don't know.
Here's a gentleman who walks in. According to him, he's had a sexual relationship with this young lady, but he wasn't sure exactly where she lived or her last name.
She's maybe 5'6", 5'7", dark black hair, green eyes. She's a good-looking girl. Really good-looking girl, actually.
The fact that somebody was going to get killed, it was bothering his conscience.
Did she ask you to find someone for her?
Yes.
So after that first interview, law enforcement realizes that they're gonna need to talk to Mohammed again.
What cops want Mohammed to do next is bold and risky. They want to set up a sting.
They say, we want you to put a wire on, and we want you to get her to outline this plan to kill her husband.
So Mohammed morphs into a confidential informant.
We have the informant contact the suspect by phone and set up a meeting so we can ID her. The mobile gas station was one of those places where they've met before in the past, so we decided to make that the location.
All right, you good to go?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right, good.
So police outfit Mohammed's car with some cameras, and they put a wire on him.
And a few seconds later, she begins talking about getting her husband killed.
There's no small talk. Mohammed and Dalia launch right into a secretly recorded conversation detailing Dalia's murderous intentions.
At first, it seems like her motive might be Mike's money.
Honestly, you work seriously gonna kill me over that much money?
It's not even over like it's not even about money.
Dalia has no idea that every word coming out of her mouth is being caught on camera.
Okay, well, all I'm trying to say is this guy's a professional. It's not all he does is get it done, that's it. It's
right.
This is where he actually says he was going to introduce her to a hitman.
I know him, you know, like, he's good at it.
We realized that this guy was credible.
But now, how am I supposed to know what day he's going to do it?
We were shocked how easily she talked about getting her husband killed.
He might tell you, oh, it's like to get out of town or something for a day.
I'm not going out of town.
You even hear during the conversation her talk about no one would ever believe that she could be capable of murder.
His mom is not going to get suspicious of you or anything like
Why
that.
me? Knowing somebody, nobody's going to be able to point a finger at me.
She ended up bringing $1,200 in cash. She believed that that money was going to be given to the hitman to buy a gun.
Yeah,
All right, I'll try.
She also bought 2 pictures.
I have a picture of him right now. You're sure everything else is okay?
Yeah.
You're sure?
Yo, what more sure can you want? You're planning a murder. Come on, stop, yo.
She's made a down payment on death.
And now Dalia Dippolito is about to come face to face with the assassin.
But little does she know, she is walking into a trap.
After Mohammed Shihada alerts Boynton Beach police about Dalia Dippolito's deadly plan, Dalia meets face to face with that hitman.
What she doesn't know is this hitman she's about to meet is actually Woody Jean, Boynton Beach police officer who is working undercover on this case.
They agreed on a location, which was a CVS parking lot in the city of Boynton Beach.
Pretty much parking this exact spot right here.
We had 2 cameras in the car. The cameras were positioned in the back seat. You can't help
being a bit nervous as you're doing this.
Remember, there's 1,000 things that can go wrong.
She parked and got into the car, and she said, hey.
Dahlia shows up to the meeting with Whitty, and she's wearing a cute little sundress. She's almost flirtatious with him in the car.
I wanted to make sure that she caught my attention and my eyes. The way she was dressed, pretty much, I'm like, okay, you know, she wants to show off her body. So, you know, I have to give her a compliment. I told her, hey, you know, you look good.
Hey, you look good.
She clearly thought she was talking to a hitman, and to her, this was something that had to be done.
How sick you got everything going? Well, that's up to you.
We were shocked how easily she talked about getting her husband killed.
She gave me definitely a sense of urgency. You cannot wait to make it happen. If you're going to make it happen, you have to make it happen this week.
I'll give you a quick breakdown of what I've done so far.
We talked about money, how much money she's going to pay me. At one point she said, well, I thought that I already gave you the $1,200.
$1,200 went to buy my heat, my gun, okay, and a couple hundred, you know, for other people to do things. Right. You know what I mean?
When I had to explain to her, $1,200 is nothing. I had to buy a gun, I had to buy a phone, I had to buy this car.
As she starts talking, what's going on in the minds of the police officers is, wow, this woman is real. This plot is real.
As a matter of fact, I've already spent more money, you know, just to get it here. Right.
I'm trying to tell her, look, however, which way you want it done, I'll do it.
So I just want to make sure that, you know, this is what you want. Sure you want to do.
When she's meeting with the hitman, he's telling her, look, there is no turning back. When I leave you today, you have no way to reach me.
I explained to Dahlia that after today, she wouldn't be able to find me to cancel this whole plan that we put together.
When it's done, you know, you have to have an option to change your mind.
And that's when Dahlia DiPolito says the phrase that goes around the world.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure. Like,
okay.
No, there's no, like, I'm determined already. I'm positive, like 5,000% sure.
Her line is classic. I am like 5,000% sure, right? So it's, you know, she is so committed to this.
Like 5,000% sure.
I didn't think she was going to be that open. I'm 5,000% sure. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
A lot tougher than what I look. I know you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. You know, but I'm not.
She told me she may look like an innocent little girl, but she's a whole lot tougher than she looks. The most surprising thing about my meeting with Dahlia was how adamant she was in making sure that this was done.
All right, Wednesday morning, go to the gym. By the time you get back from the gym, you're going to find a dead body in the house. All right?
As the Boynton Beach Police Department are preparing for their starring role in this true crime drama, Cops television show are like flies on the wall, recording every bit of it.
Our police officers, our detectives, our professional staff, they every day are doing things in our community to keep people safe and to save lives. And for us, it was a great way to showcase that and to let the community and the larger community know what these heroes are doing every day.
Now, the Boynton Beach Police say that show had been interested in their department for several months. And arguably, their cameras never captured a scene quite like this one. They are about to hit the jackpot.
Everybody knows why we're here. Chachi, you and Brian will go with me. Frank or somebody will call the wife.
Just like the undercover instructed her to leave the house, she did.
She grabs a smoothie, and she grabs her purse, and she says, bye, Mike, and she goes off to the gym.
Dahlia is at the local LA Fitness, but back at her condo, police are there setting up an elaborate trap.
That looks good. I like it.
We've had set up a fake crime scene around the house, yellow tape around the streets, around the house. We make it look like her husband had gotten killed inside the house.
At 6:21 a.m., as Dahlia DiPolito is working out, that's when she misses that call from the sergeant at the Boynton Beach Police Department.
Sergeant Ramsey, can I help you? Is this Miss DiPolito, please?
He intentionally pronounces her name wrong to throw her off.
Once he got her on the phone, told her that something had happened and we needed her to come to the house.
They needed to break some news to her.
No, ma'am, I need to talk to you. Ma'am, I'll tell you everything you need to know when you get here.
As Dahlia approaches, she sees what's really a crime scene. She sees police, tape blocked off.
So the condo is surrounded by police cars. There's a crime scene van, there's crime scene tape, her apartment's roped off with the tape.
The front door to the townhouse is wide open with black fingerprint dust everywhere.
Dahlia arrives from LA Fitness from going to the gym.
And she rushes up. Dahlia DiPolito doesn't know she's being set up right now.
A really buff police sergeant tells her, your husband has been murdered.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am, he's been killed.
Before the words are even out of his mouth, she starts crying.
And he even hugs her, and she figures she's got them wrapped around her finger just like all these other men. And little does she know, her world is about to come crashing down.
I tell you, ma'am, he's been killed.
Going into his arms.
She's wailing.
As I watch her breakdown, as she starts to cry before the word killed is even said, this was the role that she had practiced.
And the play acting continues when they get Dahlia into that interrogation room. Everyone was in character that morning, including the undercover police officer, Woody Jean, who suddenly appears in the interrogation room to make a cameo appearance of his own.
You know who this guy is? Tell us everything you know about who he knows, who he's connected to. Don't worry, we've already taken care of dogs with animal control for right now. Everything's under control.
Dahlia's acting, and the police are acting. As she's brought to the police station, everyone involved is faking it.
They think they have the goods to charge Dahlia DiPolito, but the police still want to see if they can make her crack. They're going to give her every opportunity to own up to what they suspect she did.
You have the right to remain silent and not answer any questions. Do you understand that?
She absolutely thinks that she has everybody fooled.
He was found in the bedroom. He was shot twice in the head.
He wouldn't open the door unless it's somebody that he knows.
Well,
He don't open for anybody.
She believes that she's going to be able to convince law enforcement that she truly loved Mike and that she had nothing to do with his murder.
When the police asked Dahlia if she wanted her husband killed by any chance, she denied it, completely denied it. No.
You wouldn't want to kill him, I hope. Not at all.
We are fine, like there's nothing.
Dahlia DiPolito is pretending she knew nothing about this, and the police are pretending like her husband is actually dead.
Did you want your husband dead?
No, absolutely not.
Did you want any harm to befall him? Never.
No, never.
Suddenly, the tide begins to turn, and the police get tough with Dahlia.
They've had enough with her charade and with her lies.
Police are thinking that by ushering in that would-be hitman, the man that she paid to murder her husband, surely that will get her to come clean.
Do you know her?
Put your head up and look at her.
Put your head up.
I've never seen him.
What were you doing coming out of her house? Get him out of here.
Inside, I was kind of laughing because I knew that I spent a good 25 minutes talking to her, and hearing her saying that she's never met me was pretty shocking.
She denies ever meeting him, and she doesn't know who he is.
And then the detective all of a sudden goes from being the grandfatherly figure that he had been into more of a aggressive.
You're going to jail today for solicitation of murder. You're under arrest. That's an undercover police officer. We filmed everything that you did, recorded everything that you did. You're going to jail for solicitation of first-degree murder of your husband.
I didn't do anything.
Did you hear what I just told you?
I heard what you said, but I didn't.
Everything, listen to me. Everything has been recorded. You were photographed in the convertible when you sat in this car in the front of CBS. What do you want to do?
I don't think for a second that she thought that investigators in the interrogation room we're going to turn on her.
Listen to
I
me.
didn't do anything.
You're going to
I
jail.
didn't do anything, please. I didn't do anything.
Can you talk about that moment when you realized the tables were turned?
I panicked. I was just completely frozen, and I couldn't move. I couldn't really process and digest everything that was going on.
Shockingly, the Boynton Beach Police Department media director posted the video of the staged crime scene.
The Boynton Beach Police uploaded the video the same day.
This was our way of getting video to our local media. We uploaded the video just as we did dozens of other videos.
We see this stunning video of this takedown, this woman crying and wailing. We'd never seen anything like it.
It's always a risky move for the authorities to release any information during an investigation. But Florida is one of the most open states in the country when it comes to sharing information with the public.
In a matter of hours, we were getting phone calls from national and international media.
I need you to take her to the station.
I thought it was going to be a very hot story. There's the jilted husband, there's money, there's video.
If you want to help your husband, okay? If you want to help your husband.
We were stunned. We were delighted.
When law enforcement confronts her with all of the evidence that she wants Mike DiPolito dead, Dahlia denies that.
Listen to
I
me.
didn't do anything.
You're going to jail.
I didn't do anything, please. I didn't do anything.
She's sticking to her script. She's crying.
And with the spotlight on Dahlia, the grand finale is about to unfold.
So finally they say, guess what? He's alive.
He's alive.
Come here, please. Come here.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
3 words to describe Dahlia. Liar, liar, liar.
Give me 3 words to describe yourself. Who is Dahlia DiPolito?
Understanding, sweet, and compassionate.
3 words to describe Dahlia. Liar, liar, liar.
I didn't do anything, and I didn't plot anything.
It wasn't like, kill him softly, don't hurt him. It was like, just blow the guy's brains out and, can I get a cheese sandwich with that?
I'm positive, 5,000% Charlotte.
I see somebody who's struggling.
What? How is she struggling if she's 5,000% sure?
The whole crime's caught on tape. I mean, what do you do with that?
It was a show. It was a tape. That was the purpose of it.
You were acting in those tapes.
Yes.
Liar, liar, liar.
He comes up with a defense that rocks the community. This was all for a reality show. She knew she was being taped. She and Mike wanted to be stars.
The thing about reality TV is that anybody can do it. Anybody can become famous.
I don't know what reality show a 40-year-old convicted felon could be on. They wanted to post it on YouTube to try to get acting parts. That was the plan.
It was so far out of left field that they might just believe it.
Even now, 11 years after the story first broke, the twists keep coming in the Dahlia DiPolito story.
On August 5th, 2009, Dahlia DiPolito's life changed forever.
Thank you for coming. I'm sorry to call you.
First, police tell her her husband is dead.
Is your husband Michael? Okay, I'm sorry to tell you, ma'am. He's been killed.
Then she's told she's been caught on tape planning his murder.
You're going to jail.
I didn't do anything, please. I didn't do anything.
Tell me you didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything.
You're going to jail today.
You kept saying, I didn't do anything. Just over and over and over again. Was that all you could think of to say?
They were accusing me of trying to have my husband killed, and I didn't. So that's what I kept continuously telling them.
When they turn the table, she doesn't fess up. She just keeps denying everything. And lacking that confession, they kept trying to shock her more and more.
And this is the part where what happens in that police department will go down in the history of detective work. This is a masterstroke.
The ultimate shock, you could call it a resurrection of sorts, police tell her that her dead husband isn't actually dead.
Your husband is well and alive.
Thank God.
Oh, yeah, thank God.
Can I see
No,
him,
he doesn't
please?
want to see you.
They bring Mike in. Look, your husband's alive. We've got you.
Oh my God.
He's alive.
The show Cops is at the station capturing Mike's reaction.
Come here, please. Come here.
She keeps begging him to come inside the room, which he doesn't.
Mike, come here. Come here, please.
She sees her husband, and he's alive. What? You're alive?
This is a dead man walking and talking. You never see this happen.
Can't fix this.
Why not? I didn't do anything.
I heard you.
Mike, come here, please. Come here.
All of her skills as a femme fatale start rolling in. Mike, come here, baby, come to me.
With cameras rolling inside and outside the interrogation room, it is reality TV on steroids.
I don't know what's going on, please.
For Mike DiPolito, it's a surreal love story that quickly turned into a nightmare.
He never saw it coming. For Mike, this was a whirlwind romance. He was head over heels in love with Dahlia.
I met Dahlia and we got along very well. There was never any friction. We never argued. How can I say? Our sex life was incredible.
Meanwhile, the entire time she's plotting behind his back.
There's this side to his wife he has no idea about.
Mike DiPolito insists that the accusations made by Dahlia DiPolito that he is abusive are totally false. Still, Dahlia secretly wants out of the relationship. And authorities say if she can get out with a pile of Mike's money, that's even better.
Mike DiPolito still owed $191,000 restitution, and he was on probation for decades. If he could make that restitution, he could make an argument to get off probation.
But he says Dahlia told him she could help him with that.
Dahlia said, if you can come up with $100,000, I will take $91,000 of my own. I'll put it with your money and we'll send it to the lawyer together. It was her responsibility to wire the money to Mike's lawyer.
She says she's helping him. He thinks that she is. But in reality, she's doing anything but helping him.
Soon Mike notices odd things are starting to happen.
Before I met her, I don't think I had a run-in with the police since I've been home from prison. I meet her, I'm running into the cops more than I ran into the cops probably ever in my life.
Mike will soon find out that someone is trying to frame him for crimes he didn't commit.
On 2 occasions, drugs were planted in his vehicle. Mike decides to take Dahlia away for a couple of days to the Ritz-Carlton. Mike is stopped by a police officer. And the police officer tells Mike that they had received an anonymous call saying that he was dealing drugs out of his Tahoe.
He goes, do you mind if we search? I said, absolutely, go ahead. He searched the truck, didn't find anything. It was very odd. And then the next day, I go to get gas in the truck, and I find a bag of pills. It looked like cocaine in there. And that's when that hit me. I said, wait a minute. You know, somebody put this in my truck and called the police on me. They just didn't find it.
Authorities say Dahlia figures he's an ex-con, and if she can get him sent away for drugs, he'll be gone for a really long time, and she's home free.
I remember I looked at Dahlia, I said, did you put drugs in my truck? She adamantly denied it, so I let it go. Fine. But you know, every instinct's telling me that it doesn't make sense.
In fact, according to authorities, what she's really trying to do is get Mike DiPolito out of her life.
And that $100,000 he'd given to Dahlia, she was supposed to wire it to his lawyer, but she hadn't.
I knew clearly she stole my money. She's telling me she's going to get it back, and I'm doing everything in my power to believe her.
He just stays in the relationship. He seemed to be, I don't know, for lack of a better word, a chump for love.
Your ex-husband Michael claims you stole a lot of money from him. Money that was supposed to be used to pay his restitution. Did that happen?
No. It's money that he was hiding.
Police say that after her plot to try to get him jailed doesn't work, she ups the ante.
One morning, he gets a knock at the door.
We knocked on his door, and we actually woke him up.
All I see is a bunch of cops, and I'm like, oh boy. I go downstairs.
Police department, open your door.
I hesitantly open the door.
First, he didn't know what was going on.
I thought they were there to arrest me.
And we ended up telling him what we were there for.
You have to come with us. Your wife's going to have you killed today.
Your wife has hired a person to kill you.
Just relax. Take it easy.
Clearly, this just hits him like a ton of bricks. I mean, he literally takes a step back.
We ended up taking him out of the house and driving him straight to the Point Beach Police Department.
You already know why we're here. Your wife hired somebody to kill you.
I also played a little bit of audio where she says, hey, I'm 5,000% sure that I want him killed.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure.
It wasn't like, kill him softly, don't hurt him. It was like, just blow the guy's brains out and, can I get a cheese sandwich with that?
Even from behind bars, Dahlia is not finished trying to manipulate Mike DiPolito when she makes an astonishing phone call.
Hello? Hey, it's me. Yeah, what's up? Nothing, Mike. Please come here.
Is she ready to confess, or is this something else?
Everybody asked me, why'd you take the phone call? I had to take the phone call.
As Dahlia DiPolito is being led out of the Boynton Beach Police Department and over to the Palm Beach County Jail, she has an audience.
The press, having seen the video released by police, is there to greet her.
Already, the media is out there with their cameras capturing it.
I didn't do anything, and I didn't plot anything.
You were headed to jail. What was that first night like?
It was a complete nightmare. I wasn't even officially in jail as the tapes were getting released, and they were already all over the news. They were everywhere.
Till death do them part. And it's all caught on video.
In the hours since the police released the tape to YouTube, the name Dahlia DiPolito is making the rounds and is making a big giant splash on cable TV.
Bombshell tonight.
A newlywed in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Work it, cry. Problem, Ruh-roh, the hitman, is a cop. I could just watch the video over and over. It just is one of those clips that never gets old. The crying, the screaming, the bending over. Meryl Streep, wherever you are tonight, don't worry, you're safe.
You became a headline around the world. Everyone knew your name.
It was awful.
While in jail, Dahlia makes a few tearful phone calls, first to her mother.
Hello? Mom, I'm in jail. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
You did. I know you didn't. I know you didn't. Okay. How many times did I told you to leave that guy? How many times did I tell you?
But her next phone call is unfathomable. From the jail, she calls Mike, the man police say she has just tried to have killed, and offers him no apologies.
Hello? Hey, it's me. Yeah, what's up? Nothing, Mike. Please come here.
Everybody asked me, why'd you take the phone call? I had to take the phone call. I had to hear what she was going to say. I couldn't help myself to not take that phone call.
Mike, please, I need an attorney. Can you please help me? You said you wanted to have me killed. I heard that. That's not true. That is not true. Not true. How can you believe that? I heard your voice.
Frankly, it's unbelievable that Dahlia called her husband, the victim in this case, the target of her actions, the person she wanted dead, to ask him to help her.
It is just unbelievable to listen to. The fact that she thought that she could demand that Mike help her is just on another level.
And he's even trying to give her advice as to what to do while she's in jail.
You're going to be ran around in there for a little while, a couple days. You need to just try and just go with it. And keep to yourself and don't say a lot.
I know she's never been in there before. I mean, it's not a nice place. I tried to tell her, stop acting, you know, the way you're acting, or you're going to have a rough time in there.
Like, I love you. Thanks for this. Everybody treated me awful good.
Things get spelled out for Mike that he was a very lucky man. Prosecutors say that Mike actually survived an earlier attempt on his life.
When Mohammed Shihada was giving a statement to police, he told them that Dahlia had poisoned Mike's Starbucks iced tea with antifreeze. So law enforcement, they just ask him, was there ever an incident with iced tea? And Mike then realized that he was a lot closer to his demise than he ever realized.
She went out and came back with some Starbucks iced teas. I take a sip and I spit it out so fast. It was terrible and I didn't think anything of it. I only took one sip. I was sick for about 2 weeks.
Dahlia's attorney said she never poisoned Mike.
Mike doesn't end up helping her find an attorney, but the attorney she does find ends up presenting one bizarre, wacky, intriguing defense.
It was a stunt. It was a hoax, a ruse, a plan that Mike DiPolito hoped to capture the attention of someone in reality TV.
You were acting in those tapes?
Yes.
It didn't make an iota of sense to me.
It was so far out of left field that they might just believe it.
We begin with the trial of a Florida woman arrested for plotting to kill her husband.
Your trial. Can you describe what that experience was like for you?
Confusing, really difficult. The cameras were there. The TV shows were actually filming the whole thing as I'm entering the courthouse.
Dahlia DiPolito entered the courthouse in a buttoned-up white sweater to meet the men and women who will likely decide her fate.
I have never had a case as a prosecutor that was so strong.
I'm a lot tougher than what I look. I know you're thinking, you're like, oh, what a cute little girl, whatever. You know, but I'm not.
You will see how determined she was to have Mike DiPolito, her husband, killed.
In opening statements, the prosecutor, Elizabeth Parker, wants to make sure these jurors don't believe that Dahlia is this little innocent figure and that she is a much darker, more evil person.
He asked her, are you sure you want to kill him? Without hesitation, as if she had ice running through her veins, she says, there's no changing. I'm determined already.
My biggest concern, the evidence seemed to be overwhelming. But you have Mike, who's got a shady past. I knew the defense would make him out to be a con man.
Please tell us your name.
Michael DiPolito.
What's awesome about this case is that the jury actually gets to hear from the victim. In a plot to kill somebody, the victim is almost always dead.
I don't know how to explain it. I just don't know how to explain it.
He was a likable character. I knew that I just needed to get him on the stand for long enough to have the jury like him too.
What did you think of your marriage?
I thought it was great. I was having fun with my wife. It's getting off probation, I thought.
Did the defendant seem happy?
Yes.
He completely owns up to his past.
I'm a convicted felon. I go to probation every month and report. I hold my head up as high as I can.
On cross-examination, when Dahlia DiPolito's lawyer keeps asking him and keeps repeating the word probation, Mike DiPolito bites back and makes the entire courtroom laugh.
You're like a parrot.
A parrot?
Yeah.
What does that mean? I've been called a lot of things. What's a parrot?
Did you do that on probation? Were you on probation? Did you do that on probation? Were you on probation? You know what I'm talking about. I'm just having fun with you. Come on, I'm with you.
You having fun with me? Let me ask you something. Is this fun, Mr. DiPolito?
This sucks.
Okay.
It's ridiculous. We're not here because of me. You might as well put me up next. I mean, what are we doing here?
But another Mike is about to make an entrance into the trial. Mike Stanley, an ex-boyfriend of Dahlia's.
And you're going to meet Michael Stanley. And
who prosecutors say discussed with Dahlia planting the drugs in Mike DiPolito's truck.
So, the prosecution introduced tons of text messages between Dahlia and Mike Stanley.
They were talking about everything they wanted to do once DiPolito was out the way.
So their X-rated conversation is read on the stand by Boynton Beach detective Alex Marino.
Do you want my hot, tight body all over you?
You can just see how uncomfortable this police officer is as he's reading these steamy text messages.
Love you so much. I'm so horny for you. Some of the stuff was kind of cheesy. I mean, I had to read it up on the stand. It was not my best moment. Baby, I love you, and I only want to you.
She's telling Mike Stanley, once this guy's gone, you and I can have the life we've imagined. I will have Michael's money, we'll have this condo, everything will be good.
Greed was the very basic core of why Dahlia did this.
Parker says when Dahlia's plan to put her husband back in prison failed, that's when she took things a step further.
Yeah, but killing somebody, come on. Nobody's going to be able to point a finger at me. I'm determined already. I'm positive, like 5,000% Charlotte. Okay.
After the prosecution rests, now it's the defense's turn, and they are going to use that infamous video for their own purposes.
That's where this novel defense theory came into play, a defense theory that was actually a little hard to believe.
The plot for the contract killing of Mike DiPolito was never real.
He comes up with a defense that rocks the community, which is, this was all for a reality show. She knew she was being taped. She and Mike wanted to be stars. So they came up with this idea, and it was all a hoax. It was Mike DiPolito's idea, and Mike DiPolito was in on it, and she's not guilty.
It was a stunt. It was a hoax, a ruse, a plan that Mike DiPolito hoped to capture the attention of someone in reality TV.
Dahlia's lawyers claim that Mike and Dahlia DiPolito wanted to be famous. They wanted to be like the stars of Cheaters or Jersey Shore.
Salnick presents a computer forensic expert who found that Dahlia had searched reality shows on her computer.
The website name is, it says, welcome to realitytvcastingcall.com.
It fits with his obsession about his appearance, his vanity, and others might be interested in his reality.
I was shocked. I mean, where was the evidence that this was a reality show plot?
Dahlia, listen to me for a second, okay?
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
At no time does she ever stand up and say, well, hold on a minute. This was all Michael, Muhammad, wait a minute. This is all a setup. We were all acting, right? Wouldn't be that the first thing out of your mouth if you're about to be arrested?
And not only that, Mike DiPolito strenuously denied that it had anything to do with reality TV tryouts.
Did you ever have aspirations to be on a reality show?
No.
Did you ever act out any scenarios with a defendant for a reality show?
No. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I couldn't even believe they made something like that up. I don't know what reality show a 40-year-old convicted felon could be on.
This defense received a fair amount of eyebrow raising.
She didn't want to kill her husband. She just wanted to be on a reality show.
A pretty shocking twist in the case of the Florida wife caught on tape taking a contract out on her husband. Well, we got to bring in our legal analyst, Dan Abrams, on this one. And Dan, all of us just shook our heads when we heard this.
I've seen a lot of wild and crazy defenses in my day, and this is certainly one of the wildest and one of the craziest.
The reaction to this defense was, are you kidding me? This is an almost impossible defense to win. And so I think in order for it to succeed, Dahlia DiPolito would have to take the witness stand.
Judge, the defense is going to rest.
But Dahlia does not end up testifying.
It was a daily, yes, you're going to testify, no, you're not going to testify. And
Did you want to testify?
Yes, I did.
She's like poison candy. Attractive on the outside, but deadly on the inside.
I was confident in the case that I had presented. I was truly concerned that it was such a bizarre defense.
I've been advised that the jury has reached a verdict.
Except this was nowhere near the end of this story.
now, closing arguments continue in the Dahlia DiPolito murder for hire trial.
And this case will go to the jury before lunch.
It was a typically hot day in Florida, but that is not why Dahlia DiPolito was sweating. She was facing up to 30 years behind bars.
Waiting for the verdict. What was that like?
It's nerve-wracking. It's just really stressful, really tense.
I've been advised that the jury has reached a verdict.
The jury took just 3 hours to come to a decision.
We find the defendant guilty of solicitation to commit first-degree murder.
I was numb. It wasn't at all what I was expecting to hear.
Verdict, we the jury.
I never had the impression or the understanding from my attorney that losing was a possibility. Everything was always, you know what, we got this.
Wow.
We have really good poker faces, apparently.
We all just said, well, she's guilty.
Yeah.
It was just kind of unanimous.
And the defense didn't present anything that really represented this was for a reality TV show.
And she said, I am 5,000% sure. And that did it for me.
There is absolutely no moral justification for your conduct. It was pure evil. I'm sentencing you to 20 years in the Department of Corrections.
I looked at her in that courtroom and I just said to myself, man, this is sad. I wish we were never here, and as far as the sentence, I'm 5,000% happy with it.
That seemed to be it. Case closed, except this was nowhere near the end of this story.
Everybody thinks, bye-bye, Dahlia, that's it. But turns out she got an appeal.
In the last hours, the Black Widow, Dahlia DiPolito, set to walk free.
The appeals court tosses out the conviction.
Dahlia's lawyers argue there was a problem during jury selection. And then, 3 years later, a court agrees. And so Dahlia DiPolito is getting a new trial.
Were you surprised?
The first piece of good news throughout the whole process.
So now we move on to Dahlia round 2. That's right, she's coming back a second time. And this time, there's a new cast of players.
For this second trial, Dahlia hires 2 high-profile lawyers she's seen on TV, Mark Eyedrops and Brian Claypool.
Defense attorney Brian Claypool, nice to see you both.
I am 5,000% sure Dahlia DiPolito is innocent.
Dahlia's new lawyers allow her to speak publicly for the first time, and that's when I had the opportunity to exclusively interview her.
Your every move is monitored.
Clearly, the strategy was for Dahlia to try and undergo a bit of an image rehabilitation.
When people hear the name Dahlia DiPolito, what do you think comes to mind?
Everything negative.
Give me 3 words to describe yourself. Who is Dahlia DiPolito?
Understanding, sweet, and compassionate.
Because it was a pre-trial interview, Dahlia's lawyers wouldn't let her discuss certain parts of the case, particularly those videotapes.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure. Like.
Did you hire a hitman to kill your husband?
No.
How do you explain then what we saw and what we heard on those videotapes?
I'd like to be able to explain that to you right now, but I can't because the attorneys legally have told me that we're saving that for our day in court.
In our interview, Dahlia's lawyer, Brian Claypool, reiterated that reality TV defense that we saw in her first trial.
Dahlia, her ex Mike, and this gentleman Mohammed were all part of this collaboration to put together a YouTube video of a scene where they're hiring somebody to kill somebody. They wanted to submit that, post it on YouTube to try to get acting parts. That was the plan. It got out of control.
I'm positive, like 5,000% sure.
5,000% sure, not 100% sure, not 1,000% sure, but 5,000% sure. How do you explain that?
I look at that video and I see somebody who's struggling with whether she's really sure.
She's struggling? What?
Why? Well,
how is she struggling if she's 5,000% sure?
Well, you might find that humorous, but when I hear people say they're sure, I'm 110% sure. She's trying to overcompensate.
As for Mohammed, he denies working with Mike and Dahlia to make a video to try and get acting jobs.
Mike DiPolito says he's never even met Mohammed.
What do you say to people who say you're just denying the undeniable, that this is an open and shut case?
That now with the attorneys that I have, so much is coming to light to where it would just be insane to not believe me. The tape it was a show, it was a tape. That was the purpose of it.
You were acting in those tapes?
Yes.
But you're telling the truth now?
Yes.
Why should we believe you?
Because it's what happened. It's the truth.
Dahlia DiPolito escorted into court by her attorneys for her second trial.
Dahlia's second trial is going to shock a lot of people in a number of ways.
Claypool dropped this bomb.
He just throws off like it's nothing. And by the way, if you send her to prison, you're going to be separating her from her infant son. What infant son?
Walking on the sidewalk right now, this doesn't happen very often.
No, this doesn't happen at all. This is the first time I've had a walk in a long time.
Yeah, your every move is monitored.
I took a rare walk with Dahlia DiPolito outside her lawyer's office while she was on house arrest, awaiting her second trial. She was living at her mother's house, tethered to an ankle bracelet.
This is what it looks like, and it doesn't come off at all.
You've been living under house arrest for the better part of 5 years, nearly 6 years. What's been the hardest part?
Not knowing when it's over, not being able to leave, watching everybody around me being able to come and go as they want, and I can't do that.
After Dahlia's first trial, she was convicted. Prosecutor Liz Parker wrote a book about it called Poison Candy.
This is what she wrote about you. She was poison candy, sweet, delicious, mouth-watering on the outside, but deadly within, and designed to cripple the innocent. What's it like hearing those words?
It's hurtful. When I found out that the book was out, I was suicidal.
Do you think people will change their minds about you when they hear from you in your second trial?
I'd like to believe so.
It's at a pretrial hearing, part of an attempt by her lawyers to get the case dismissed, where Dahlia finally has her chance to tell her side of the story under oath.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. You take the witness stand on my right.
It's not unusual at all for a defendant to take the stand in a pretrial hearing as long as it's not in front of a jury.
Good afternoon, Ms. DiPolito.
She actually takes the stand, and she gets up and describes that I was acting, she says. I was acting.
We worked together on an acting project. We were all going to work on an actor's presentation to put up on social media.
That did not go well for Dahlia. Under cross-examination, the prosecutor, he just tore her story apart. He was, okay, first of all, where's the script? Where are the notes? Wouldn't you have production notes?
Where was your script this day?
What do you mean, where was it?
Where was it?
It wasn't there. We looked at the script and we didn't take it with us.
The prosecution punches holes in this reality TV defense. One of the questions was, if this is all about reality TV, how come you can't clearly see your face, you know, with the cameras in the back of the car?
How come you can't see any of it?
I wasn't the one taking it. I don't know.
She had so many holes in her story, it made no sense.
Her true self shined through. She was so not convincing at that pretrial hearing under oath that the court ruled against her.
She loses the hearing, and so the motion to dismiss the case fails.
9 months later, it's Dahlia's second trial.
The high-profile retrial getting underway today in West Palm Beach.
Dahlia DiPolito getting a second chance at freedom after her first conviction was overturned.
Trial 2 was handled quite a bit differently by the prosecution. They were going to stick to those videos, and that was it. They didn't even call Michael DiPolito to testify.
Because the rest of the evidence was so powerful, my prosecutors felt that they would just go with the slimmed-down version of the case.
Her words on those videos prove the crime charged.
In the second trial, Dahlia's lawyers abandoned this reality TV defense.
The defense focused on the misconduct, they said, of the Boynton Beach Police Department. They were trying to flip the script and put all the blame on the police.
So far, no mention of that reality show acting defense that she had talked about previously.
Gone is this reality TV nonsense. Now they're leveling their charges against the Boynton Beach Police Department because Boynton Beach had brought cops in.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? That opening theme song, Bad Boys, is so synonymous with the show, a show that is supposed to put a spotlight on the good work police do every day.
Bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you?
At the beginning, the Boynton Beach Police Department really wanted to highlight their professionalism by participating with the cops television show, but at the trial, the defense really hammered them and went after them, effectively putting them on trial.
This is a fake crime scene, right? Right?
Yes.
It's all pretend, right?
Yes.
It's all made up, right?
Yes.
And you think that's a good use of taxpayer money?
My opinion doesn't matter.
The presence of the cops TV show created a frenzy within the Boynton Beach Police Department to manufacture good television. They tossed Dahlia DiPolito under the bus. They made this way more than it ever was. And they could care less about her constitutional rights.
The Boynton Beach police say there was no wrongdoing and they were just trying to gather evidence.
Cops filming with the Boynton Beach Police Department had nothing to do with this investigation. It was just a coincidence as far as timing was concerned.
Then the defense pulls out its ace card, and it's a showstopper.
Claypool gets up, he's making this dramatic closing argument, and he just throws off like it's nothing.
Give her that freedom back to go home to her family and her infant son.
By the way, if you send her to prison, you're going to be separating her from her infant son.
We all sort of are like the reporters in the back row. We're all sort of like, look, did I just hear that she has a child?
The latest bombshell was dropped last night during closing arguments.
Turns out it was the appliance repairman. He came to her house, they fell in love, she got pregnant, and she had a baby, all on house arrest.
And right now, we're on verdict watch in the Dahlia DiPolito retrial.
I think there was a general expectation that she would be convicted.
A bombshell announcement in the murder-for-hire case against Dahlia DiPolito.
We, the jury, feel that we cannot reach a unanimous decision.
The jury telling the judge late today they are deadlocked.
I must declare a mistrial at this time. There were 3 votes for guilty and 3 votes for not guilty.
Courtroom shocker, Dahlia DiPolito walking out a free woman after a judge declared a mistrial in her murder-for-hire retrial.
I can count on one finger the number of people in this country who felt we even had a chance in this case.
Whenever you don't get a conviction, you're disappointed. But I knew that we had a great team and we would do it again and perhaps do it a little differently.
Immediately after trial number 2, the state attorney, Dave Ehrenberg, said, "We are taking her to trial again."
There was not a second when we thought that we would let her go free. Not a second.
Prosecutors vowing to try her a 3rd time.
And so now we're going on to Dahlia Chapter 3.
This is the 3rd time DiPolito has been on trial for this murder-for-hire case.
Heading into the 3rd trial, prosecutors are certainly hoping that they can finally close the book on this case.
We knew she tried to commit murder, and she had gotten away with it thus far. And until we heard the word guilty, we were not going to be able to exhale fully.
This is the third time Dippolito has been on trial for this murder for hire case.
Well, the prosecutors for the third trial this time went back to the original strategy of putting on more of a prosecution.
We wanted the jury to get more context. We wanted the jury to see Michael Dippolito.
Introduce yourself to the jury for the record.
Hi, my name is Mike Dippolito.
By humanizing the victim, you impress upon them truly the importance of this case. It's vitally important that they put him on the stand.
Did her arrest for solicitation to commit first-degree murder shock you?
Yes.
Would it work? Well, in this third trial, it didn't take long for the jury to make its decision.
A verdict for the woman on trial in a murder for hire.
Well, some say 3 times a charm, but not for Dalia Dippolito.
She was found guilty in 90 minutes. I mean, we were all a bit stunned. There was apparently no doubt in the jurors' mind.
16 years behind bars. That is the sentence for Dalia Dippolito.
Dalia Dippolito expressionless inside a Palm Beach County courtroom today, moments after learning her fate.
Dalia's current release date is 2032. She serves the entirety of that sentence. She'd be 49 years old when released.
Dalia, in jail, heads up a Bible study group. She misses her child dearly. Her mom has stepped up immensely to help take care of her little boy. He's a preschooler, and he comes to visit his mom in jail at least once a month. And Dalia has described him as being very playful, very happy, very outgoing. She is still determined to get a new trial and to get vindicated.
Dalia's attorneys have tried to get the verdict thrown out again.
Her case, she tried to get her case all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Earlier this year, the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear Dalia's appeal.
The Dalia Dippolito saga is finally over. The reality show is done. The last chapter has been written.
We're still fighting, and we're going to file a federal brief to attempt to get a new trial for Dalia.
After she left the prosecutor's office, Elizabeth Parker became Mike Dippolito's attorney and even helped get him off probation.
He paid all of the restitution that was owed to the victims.
Mike got engaged and seems to be moving forward with his life.
How much do you love this guy?
I love him a lot.
It's nice. Sometimes it's hard to accept something this good's happening to you.
He's very lucky to be alive.
It's not been an easy journey for him. He truly thought Dalia was the love of his life.
Did you ever love Mike Dippolito?
Yes. I married him because I loved him. I was in a relationship with him because I loved him.
And now?
Now I wish I never would have met him.
Oh, I feel the same way. I wish I would have made a left, not a right. Trust me.
Dog walkers came across the bin bags.
They find this is a disposal of some body parts.
The brutality of it, it was unbelievable.
It's what the psychos do. It was a massive shock to everybody. Things don't happen like that in a community like this.
People just couldn't believe it. Obviously, it makes you scared.
You think, is there a serial killer on the loose? Is this gang related?
And I got a phone call, and then my world fell apart. They were new, but I didn't know there was anything wrong.
Just south of Manchester, at the start of the River Mersey, sits Stockport.
Well, there's a lot of history with Stockport. There's a church behind here that goes 16th century.
Stockport's quite a quiet town. I grew up there, I was born there, raised there, went to school there, and there was a sense of community and people rallying round. If anything happens, there's a lot of support there, and if you're from Stockport, people sort of stick together from there.
People are very friendly, very nice, very approachable.
On the outskirts of Stockport, nestled amongst the serene surroundings of a leafy country park, is Brinnington.
I think Brinnington's an absolutely fantastic place to live. Everybody is a big family. Everybody looks out for each other, and it is a very tight-knit community.
For those wanting an escape from the hustle and bustle of nearby Stockport, locals can soak up the nature in Reddish Vale Country Park.
The Vale, it's a lovely place. We used to go out, we used to climb up the trees. It's just a kid's wildest dream, isn't it? You can do what you want when you're down the Vale.
You get quite a lot of people fishing down there. A lot of people down there with the dogs and running and things like that. It's lovely, it's really nice.
But the tranquility of this country park was shattered one summer's morning.
It was all in lockdown, and so my granddaughter, she used to walk the dog for us every couple of days. And one day she came back. She said, just going down, she said, there was a big bag of meat there, Gran. Like bin bag, and it was all ripped open. I said, oh, I said, you didn't let our dog touch it, did you? She said, no, no, no. I wouldn't let her touch it. She went trying to sniff at it, but I just pulled her back. She did, it didn't look very good, it was all green, she said. I think it was something from a butcher's. So, didn't think anything more about it.
But moments later, another dog walker grows suspicious.
Dog walkers came across the bin bags. They called into the police and reported, you know, that these bags had been found.
Dog walker walking in there sees a black bag and the dog's worrying the black bag. As soon as they open it, they can smell the bad smell. It will be a case of, I think, of what do I do now? And I expect the thing is to bring the police.
Alerted to the scene by a putrid smell coming from the bags, police inspect them, only to make a horrific discovery.
They find this is a disposal of some body parts.
Having identified some human remains in the bags, police secure the scene, and a murder investigation is immediately launched.
So the police officer turns up to the scene, finds parts of a body. Straight away, they'll be thinking, preservation, let's get some specialist teams down here. They've got to then put a cordon in the area so that nobody can come in and take pictures and disturb the scene. Most police officers will have seen dead bodies, but it's an entirely different kettle of fish, isn't it, when you're seeing a body cut up.
News of the shocking discovery quickly spreads, and local reporters rush to the scene.
There was a massive sense of urgency with this. We cover a lot of murders in Manchester, but nothing like this. We were just trying to establish what had happened. All that we knew was that a body's been found, dismembered in bin bags in a country park. That was just, it was unbelievable at the time.
As the story spreads, the local community struggles to come to terms with what's been found on their doorstep.
It was a massive shock to everybody. Things don't happen like that in a community like this. You know, how could somebody do that? It's absolutely horrific.
It rocked the community, the brutality of it. It shocked a lot of people.
People just couldn't believe it. You know, obviously it makes you scared, especially if it's just around the corner from where you live.
The shock of it, it just got about. It was just like it was more like when a rumour gets about. How do you drop a bag on the Vale with a human body in it? Do you know what I mean? It's what the psychos do.
News of the crime spreads fast. But the most important question on everyone's lips is, who is the victim?
The police will not know who that victim is at that moment. The family of that individual will not know that their loved one has died. So the police would have been looking at the missing persons register, because it's important to try and get to the family of that individual as quickly as possible.
But there's a problem. The bags contain only certain body parts, making an initial identification impossible. And it spreads fear amongst families in the local community.
For the residents, it was a very, very difficult situation. You might have people whose parents, daughters, sons didn't come home for one reason or the other. So they were worried that it could have been their loved one.
The police have no idea who their victim is, and are no closer to knowing who could have possibly carried out this sickening crime.
The police will be trying to find the crime scene, because where the body is, the person has probably not been murdered there. They've just been parts of their body dumped there. You think, is there a serial killer on the loose? Is this gang related?
In the Stockport suburb of Brinnington, the community is waking up reeling after bin bags containing body parts were discovered in the local country park.
It's unusual to have a body dismembered. I can only think of 2 or 3 in my service in Greater Manchester.
Massive shock to everybody. You don't expect something like that to happen on your doorstep.
I've never heard anything like it before in my life. I couldn't believe it.
With the fears in the community growing, police specialists move in to examine the area.
There is an urgency taking place. It's like a huge juggernaut moving. They call it the golden hour, and it isn't an hour. It's the time that you're going to get the best evidence and the best opportunities to catch the killer and get main lines of inquiry. You will have police forensic teams sent out to the scene. You will have scientists looking at blood pattern analysis, looking at body deposition. The coroner from the area will be called out. So there's a whole group of people that are going to get involved in this from a very early stage.
News of the gruesome discovery has spread like wildfire, and local reporters are on the scene. But while forensic officers have the delicate task of trawling the crime scene, in a bid to identify the victim, the cause of death, and find clues to the killer, the media frenzy threatens to scupper the investigation from the off.
It's difficult for the police to keep ahead of the media frenzy. The media, they can be down and they can be knocking on doors in the area. They want to get in there and get the story.
We sent a reporter down there. We spoke to the community, we spoke to neighbours, and then we sent a photographer down there as well.
Photos from the scene are shared online, much to the concern of investigators.
When it got put on Facebook, that's how most people really did find out through that.
One of the big issues for investigators at a crime scene like this is media and social media. Everybody wants to take photographs. Everybody wants to pass that out. It can be around the world, and let's say it takes 3 days to identify that individual because there's got to be some scientific analysis. Well, the family might have been looking at this for days on end.
With the images spreading online, time is running out before news gets to the family.
There's a number of ways that the police can try and identify an individual. It's been perfected over the years. You've got fingerprints, you've got tattoos, marks, you've got dental, you've got DNA.
Now we're into the phase of looking at that body in detail for marks, for injuries, things like that. As you carry on and dissect to look for evidence, this is all about the detail of what that body is telling you.
After examining the remains, experts find a tattoo on one of the body parts. Could this be key to identifying the victim? Then, suddenly, 9 hours after the discovery, police receive a call, reporting a local resident missing. She is 46-year-old Yvonne McCann, known as Vonnie.
The first thing, obviously, we realise that my sister's missing, and then the second thing we see on Facebook is that body parts have been found. So then, you're putting 2 and 2 together, aren't you?
Yvonne's sister, Helen, had been watching the police drama unfold before her eyes, unaware of the devastating impact it was about to have on her life.
I sat in my garden, looking at the police on the Vale, texting my sister. What's going on? It looks really bad. What's going on? Have you heard anything, Von? I didn't get any response, but I didn't think anything of it. Didn't even know she was missing.
Police request that one of Yvonne's family head to the scene to establish whether the victim is indeed their loved one or someone else entirely.
One of my nephews had been up to see a body part with a tattoo on it, so that proved that it was our Yvonne. I was shocked. I was empty. I had no feelings. I didn't have a tear in my eye. I couldn't cry. I think I was just in disbelief and shock. The way we lost her, the way she was found, the indignity of being found like that.
Early hours of the morning, we'd gone to bed and I got a phone call off my brother Charlie saying they think that's our Yvonne. And then my world fell apart. I was meant to protect her. Never knew, but I didn't know. Didn't know if there was anything wrong.
News that one of their own has been taken from them hits locals hard.
The whole community was subdued for a few weeks, to be honest, because everybody knew Vonnie. When you normally pass somebody and you say hi to them and then suddenly they're not there to say hi to, it was very, very tragic, very tragic.
Yvonne was well known to locals, having lived in Brinnington her whole life.
She was the youngest, you know, she's the apple of my dad's eye, shall we say. She was a lovely girl. She's very mischievous. She was loud, she was bright, she had a great sense of humour, you know, and she was good fun to be with.
She was a baby. She got away with stuff that me and my brother never did. I think they give up. After me and my brother, they must have given up. She used to drive me nutty when we got to the teenage stage, and she used to run after me all the time and want to hang about with me. She was just funny. I wish she could hang about with me now. But at the time, you don't think of that, do you?
During her teenage years, Yvonne found her first love with local lad Thomas McCann.
Yvonne and Thomas were definitely childhood sweethearts. She was about 14 when she met Tommy. From there, she was just always a Tom. Tom was the man.
She was 14 when she met him and he was a few years older. They were both devoted to each other.
A lot of people meet at a young age, and sometimes your first love is just your first love and you grow apart. Well, they never grew apart, they just grew stronger.
In 1996, 8 years into their relationship, Yvonne and Thomas tied the knot and started a family together.
Yvonne had 3 children with Thomas. They were married and Thomas was a family man, hard-working man. He worked as a takeaway delivery driver in Stockport.
She loved him to bits, and he loved her. And they stayed together for all them years because there was a strong bond between them.
However, in 2012, after 24 years together, the relationship sadly came to an end. Yet Yvonne and Thomas remained friends and continued to live under the same roof. And eventually, Yvonne started dating again.
She moved on to a new relationship and things appeared to go well.
He's a nice bloke and he wanted to look after her. He made her feel good.
Life for Yvonne was good. But in March 2020, during the UK's period of lockdown, she moved back in with Thomas, who she was still on friendly terms with, in order to spend more time with her children. But in May 2020, just hours before a planned family barbecue, Yvonne texts family to say she's not coming, and then disappears, prompting her worried ex Thomas to take matters into his own hands.
At that point, Thomas reported that she was missing.
So what could possibly have led this well-known mother to be killed in such a horrific way?
When a body is dismembered, as an investigator, you've got to look at why it's been dismembered. So in this case, it's put in black bin liners and discarded on a park. It's not a case of trying to hide the body. That seems to me to be a knee-jerk reaction this person doesn't know what they want to do with the body. You know, this is not a criminal mastermind. This didn't look like some kind of serial killer. It's not gang-related where they've taken some time, like you see on some of the films. It is a quick, hurried deposit of some body parts.
Police now begin to suspect that whoever was responsible for this sickening crime was local to the area.
One of the things I thought about on this is there's some science behind where criminals operate. You, I, everybody else will have an area where we operate a daily business. We'll go to the same pubs, we'll go to the same shops, we'll meet the same friends at the same locations. And if you look at that, this is how criminals operate. Because they'll carry out the crime, they'll know places where they feel that they can deposit stuff and they can get away and not be compromised.
With Yvonne's home a mere stone's throw from where her body was found, attention falls on her inner circle.
You want to be with the families very quickly. One, for that reassurance, but secondly, to identify, have they got any idea of how it occurred, who could have done it, or was it within the family? You want to look at possible partners, friends, and people that they've had arguments with. That gives me a smaller pool of people to look at than trying to look at every gang member in Greater Manchester to see whether they've killed this woman.
Police begin by speaking to Yvonne's ex-husband, Thomas McCann. Thomas tells police that he last saw Yvonne on the Saturday morning, 2 days before her body was found. She left home to meet her new partner. Detectives speak to him, but he tells them that Yvonne never turned up. And after some delving into his whereabouts on the day, police rule the new partner out of the investigation. So where had Yvonne gone? And who would want her dead?
We didn't know if she'd just had an argument and gone to her boyfriend. We didn't know if she'd had an argument and gone to see a friend. You know what I mean? We didn't know.
As Yvonne's family prepare to say their goodbyes, suddenly police make an announcement.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a woman's body was found on Reddish Vale Country Park earlier this morning. The suspect has been taken into custody and detained for questioning.
It was a big shock to everybody. Nobody ever expected it at all.
It's been a matter of hours since human remains were found in Brinnington, and the body has been identified as that of 46-year-old mum, Yvonne McCann, and police have made an arrest.
One of my nephews knocked on his door and says, I've come to tell you my dad's been arrested for a murder.
Yvonne's ex-husband, 49-year-old Thomas McCann, is arrested and taken into police custody.
It's unfathomable to even think something like that could happen.
And as Yvonne's loved ones try to make sense of this shocking news, the community rallies together to show its support.
Our family's a very well-known family. We were born and bred Brinnington, so it affected everybody. It wasn't just the family, the estate. It affected the estate. People couldn't believe it, you know, and the response, the messages of people, and we had lockdown here. We had lockdown. And even in lockdown, there must have been 300 people on this front. And by the way, they was all trying their best to stay safe. But how can you stop 300 people coming to show their respects?
Despite the incredible support from the local community, the interrogation of Yvonne's ex-husband Thomas in connection with her death continues. So what had led to the arrest of the father of 3 of Yvonne's children? Police had recently learnt that on Saturday morning, 2 days before Yvonne's body was found, there had been an argument between Yvonne and Thomas.
Yvonne and Thomas had argued in the morning. The neighbours had heard them arguing from about 9 o'clock.
They had an argument over a bag of chips, apparently.
she'd messaged her neighbour saying, you know, I've left a bag of frozen chips out, and that was that.
While in custody, Thomas tells police that after the argument over the frozen chips, Yvonne left their home to go and see her new partner. He then tells police the following day he was invited to a family barbecue.
Both him and Yvonne had been invited to a family barbecue by their son. And Yvonne, she'd messaged her son saying she wouldn't go, and there'd been an argument, and there was a few messages exchanged to do with that.
Yvonne's texts made it clear she didn't want to join Thomas at the barbecue, but he still went and stayed there until late in the evening.
He went to walk home. His daughter was helping him home because he was drunk. He passed out. And then that's when his daughter found the rings and, I believe, her mobile phone in his jacket pocket and began questioning where her mum was.
When confronted by his daughter, Thomas explains why he had Yvonne's possessions with him. And he gives a different story to the one he initially gave to the police.
After, you know, they'd had this argument, he said he met her on Hempshire Lane, which is in Stockport. He said he was going to give her a lift to the new partner's house, and during which she gave him her wedding rings for safekeeping, and that her phone had fallen into the footwell of his car, so he'd got those off her and then dropped her off at the new partner's house.
Her phone and rings were found in his pocket, so that heightens the senses of the SAO that this might be the individual we're looking at.
But the police still have no hard evidence to link Thomas to the crime.
I would be getting a search warrant for that property. You'd want to do a forensic examination in the home. One of the first things I'd be doing when I went in the house would be getting the bath and the plumbing looked at, because there'll be residue in the bath and there'll be residue in the pipes all the way down to the plumbing.
Officers searched Thomas and Yvonne's address, but forensics failed to find anything incriminating.
The house was spotless. From what I can gather, there was nothing found DNA-wise, there was nothing found there in the house that could prove that anybody had been killed in that house.
With no forensic evidence found at the address, police scour local CCTV in an attempt to confirm whether Thomas had indeed travelled to Stockport to meet Yvonne on the Saturday.
Thomas gives an explanation of where he went between certain times. The teams will look at any CCTV to see whether they confirm his story, because what you're trying to do is you're either trying to confirm or deny what he's saying.
And in a major breakthrough, police do uncover CCTV focusing on the street outside Yvonne and Thomas's home. But there's no sign of Yvonne leaving the address at any point. Despite Thomas's insistence to police that she'd walked out after the pair had argued over frozen chips.
It was 9 to 10 o'clock in the morning. He was seen going outside 4 times, moving things from his truck. Why he was doing that, we don't know. But then from about 10 o'clock, he was inside the house. And then he wasn't seen again until 4 o'clock.
Having spent the day indoors, Thomas McCann is seen leaving the address. But it's what he's seen carrying which really sparks police interest.
Thomas McCann left the house with bin bags.
Has Thomas been caught red-handed on CCTV carrying his ex-wife's remains? Further examination of the cameras shows Thomas returns home at 10:47 p.m. and heads out again just before 1 a.m. Shortly after leaving, his car is spotted on CCTV, parked at Bredbury Recycling Centre on the outskirts of Stockport. Police immediately dispatch officers to the scene.
It was at the recycling centre where more body parts were found.
The body parts are quickly identified as those of Yvonne McCann. Tools, including a Stanley knife, are also discovered at the scene. and Thomas is confronted with the damning evidence against him.
The officers have asked him the questions, he's given him an answer, they've gone away, they've come back and said, come on Thomas, that's not right. And here you are with a load of bin liners. What were you disposing of and where did you take him? People do become upset. A lot of them become angry because they're being found out. The story isn't right. The true craft of an interviewer is to get a person talking. If you can get that rapport going with that individual, you can get that little chink, you know, you need to do this for your kids, you need to do this for her. It can turn it. And that's the true craft of turning somebody to talk to you.
There was 4 police interviews. At the 4th interview, when he was accompanied by a solicitor, he handed in a statement saying, I've killed my wife, I've killed Yvonne, and disposed of her like garbage.
Thomas McCann is charged with the murder of his ex-wife, Yvonne McCann.
You think, it's something that doesn't happen to you. It's something that doesn't happen in your family. It's something that happens in America. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't happen in Brinnington. Something like that doesn't happen on your doorstep, and it definitely doesn't happen to your sister.
But the question troubling the police is the motive. Why would Thomas murder his childhood sweetheart and mother of his children? 4 days since the human remains of Yvonne McCann were found in a park near the Stockport suburb of Brinnington, the community wakes to the shocking news that her ex-husband, 49-year-old delivery driver Thomas McCann, has confessed to her murder.
Yvonne and Thomas were childhood sweethearts, which I think makes it all the more surprising that this happened, really.
He's not only killed his wife, he's also mutilated her body as well. How anybody could do that, I'll never know.
Ten months after Yvonne's murder, Thomas appears at Manchester Crown Court to enter a formal plea. And the question the family are desperate to be answered is, why did Yvonne's once-loving husband end her life in such a brutal way? Could it really be over a bag of frozen chips?
This was the first that anyone had heard the proper details of the case, and it was the first time in open court that the public would hear of the details of the case, so it was a very tense atmosphere. There was the family sat upstairs in the public gallery at the back, and then Thomas McCann in the dock. Thomas seemed really normal when I saw him in court. He was in a blue suit, he looked quite smart. You wouldn't look at him to think he'd done something like that, but you could say that about any murderers, couldn't you?
My side of the family, we weren't in the same courtroom because of COVID. We wasn't allowed. We was by camera.
I never went to court. I didn't want him to see me, because if he sees me and I show any emotion at all, he's won.
Thomas formally pleads guilty to the murder of his ex-wife, meaning he wouldn't have to give a defence revealing any motive for the killing.
I think Thomas pleaded guilty to stop his family from hearing all the gory details of what went on. That way he didn't have to tell his side of the story.
He knew that a few of the family were going to go to court, so he pleaded guilty, so there wasn't a court case. No one even had a say on the matter.
With Thomas pleading guilty to the crime, the family is denied hearing a motive for the murder. Could the answer lie in their 24-year relationship, which started when they met as teenagers?
I think she just fell head over heels with him. And I think, oh, this is a fairy tale. But it wasn't a fairy tale. Every couple of months we used to say, oh, is Thomas still at home? Going off with every woman he set eyes on. And she'd forgive him over and over and over again.
No matter what you said to her, Bonnie, she wouldn't believe it. My Thomas wouldn't do that. My Thomas wouldn't do that.
Over the years, the strain of the relationship took its toll on Yvonne, and she reached out to her brother and sister for help.
We all said, it'll never be no good. And she used to just fall to pieces. And we used to pick the pieces up. And in the end, you know, you can't keep saying, leave him, because it doesn't work. She had to be ready to do that.
My sister come round, our Yvonne, and said, you know, can you go and chuck him out, or can you go and have a word with him, can you sort it out? Now, I used to do that for her. Nothing ever involved violence, just strong talking. But you knew you was wasting your time, because within a day or two, he'd be back. So after maybe 10 years of actually trying to sort it out, I did say to our Yvonne, you know, if you have trouble now, don't come to see me. When you want him gone, get him gone yourself.
Yvonne remained with Thomas. But as the years rolled on, she became more and more vulnerable.
She was a very mentally strong person, don't get me wrong, but, you know, as time went on, she got weaker and weaker as things went wrong. You know, dogs dying, parents dying. When my mum died, she believed a lot in ghosts, our Yvonne, and afterlife. She used to go and see psychics and things like that. All of a sudden, all sorts of little things are moving around. You've got all your ornaments and things like that are moving around. Things are appearing from nowhere. And Yvonne's thinking, it's my mum and my dad, you know. And it wasn't my mum and dad, it was Thomas messing around with her head. I think that's exactly what he was doing.
As far as I'm aware, there was nothing physical. There was no physical abuse, but there was something. I think it was like mental torture to her.
Eventually, in 2012, Yvonne built up the strength to end her relationship with Thomas.
She'd had enough, and she wanted out. So she moved out, she moved away from the trouble.
Yvonne then met her new partner. But despite this, Thomas kept a tight grip on Yvonne.
Thomas wouldn't let go. You know, he'd threaten to jump off bridges, things like that. If you don't stay with me, I'm going to jump off this bridge. If you don't stay with me, I'm going to drink this bleach. If you don't stay with me, I'm going to take these tablets.
He was stood on the bridge numerous times near where she lived, threatening to jump. He went disappearing one time. He just disappeared. And then he turned up again. And I think it was constant mind games.
Despite recently moving in with her new partner, Yvonne, concerned over Thomas's well-being, felt she had no choice but to move back in with her ex-husband.
She went back, but she didn't want to be there. She wanted that fresh start. She wanted that fresh start, and she wasn't allowed that fresh start. She couldn't get rid of him. He wouldn't go. That is what happened towards the end.
In March 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic hit the UK, and a national lockdown meant that Yvonne and Thomas would be spending more time together than usual.
All of a sudden, you're stuck in the same house together for months. It's going to have effects on some people. For our Yvonne to be spending all that time with Thomas, I don't think it would have been a good thing, you know.
2 months into lockdown, Yvonne pays her brother a visit, which tragically would be the last time he saw her.
The last time I spoke to her was the Thursday before she was murdered. She come round the house, and Yvonne was talking to my wife and saying, you know, he's going through my phone. I wake up in the night or in the morning, he's sat at the end of the bed looking at me. She said, I don't feel comfortable. She knew herself that there was something not right with him. And in that conversation, she actually said to me that if I am ever found dead, it's him that's done it. And that was words out of her mouth the Thursday before the day she disappeared. If I am ever found dead, it's him that's done it.
Days later, on the morning of Saturday the 23rd of May 2020, a neighbour hears an argument coming from Yvonne and Thomas's home. They then receive a text from Yvonne saying the pair were arguing over frozen chips being left out. But was this really the motive for the murder?
All I can think is that he'd lost control of her. Maybe they had the conversation and she said, well, I am going. Maybe that's what triggered it off. Maybe she decided, right, Tom, I'm going, and he thought, well, you're not. You're not going anywhere. Makes more sense to me than arguing over a bag of chips. Certainly does. He's the only one that knows.
The motive may be unclear, but police discover what Thomas did next. And it's truly horrifying.
He strangled Yvonne, and then, we believe using a Stanley knife and some lopping shears, he dismembered the body. I think that's what took so long for him to do. That's why he was in the house for so long.
Police also discover that after killing his ex-wife, Thomas had used Yvonne's phone pretending to be her.
So whilst he was dismembering Yvonne's body, he was messaging the family using her phone, messaging himself using her phone and replying. He was apologising to her about the bag of frozen chips, telling her he still loved her. All this was carrying on whilst he was committing that act.
So he's trying to manufacture a narrative there, so that when he's asked questions, say, oh, well, I was speaking to her at these times, and then these are messages, and if she's died before then, well, she died afterwards.
The court hears that in a prepared statement, McCann had told police he had strangled Yvonne and cut her body up in order to make her go away. He then disposed of her body parts and the tools he had used, and then shockingly joined his family for a barbecue that his son had invited both parents to attend the next day.
He didn't show any remorse. How can that be remorseful? Just carrying on after he'd murdered and dismantled my sister. Carrying on like he'd done nothing. I'll just go and have a barbecue with my family. Just carry on pretending I'm my wife on her phone. No, that wasn't sorry. Can say sorry as much as he wanted in court to the family. That shows me he was never sorry.
The court is also told that only 50% of Yvonne's body has ever been found.
Other parts of the body were still not found. They've not found the head.
The family will never get complete closure in that aspect until she's returned as a whole. There's always that part of my loved one is still out there. And hopefully, one day it'll be found.
On the 30th of March 2021, the judge imposes his sentence. Thomas McCann is sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 12 years behind bars.
My side of the family just got up and walked out. I was gobsmacked.
There was a number of things which reduced the sentence. Part of it was reduced due to his guilty plea. Another part was due to mitigating circumstances such as his mental state at the time. He had mental health issues. There was alcohol abuse there. From what we know, he suffered with horrendous abuse as a child in every way imaginable. But you'd think a brutal murder like that, the way he disposed of the body, you know, people who've murdered people in the past have got much higher sentences for doing a lot less than what he did.
What's that message about 12 years sent out to other people that are thinking of getting rid of the wife because they've had enough of her, eh? Can't afford to divorce her, can't do this, I'll murder her. I'll get 12 years. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting. They should be ashamed of themselves.
I could never forgive him. Never. He took my sister away. He took a part of me away with him that day, and a part of my brother as well.
I could never forgive him for what he's done to not just me, the family. It's what he's done to everybody. It's up to him now to do something with himself. It's up to him to realise what he's done and let him do his time. But when it comes to forgiveness, no, I can't forgive the man. No, I can't. No.
With Thomas now behind bars, the community of Brinnington struggles to come to terms with the horror of what happened to Yvonne.
The neighbours, everybody, even now still feel it. Because obviously, you know, children left without a mum, and it's just thrown their life, probably for the rest of their lives, into turmoil. Very, very sad, very sad.
And Yvonne's elder siblings are slowly coming to terms with a life without her.
The way of moving on is to keep yourself busy. Don't let things get into your head. We're not going to let him destroy my life, my wife's life, my family's life, my kids' life. We're not going to let him do it. We're going to get on and we're going to be even stronger. And that's how you get through things.
I'll never be able to understand why she's no longer here. And the nightmares, the constant lack of sleep since, wondering who she was shouting for while he was strangling her, because she'd have been shouting for somebody to help her. And we didn't, and we couldn't, because we didn't know.